Hello, everyone. We're live. so,
Hi.
so
It's-
exciting every time.
I know it's very exciting, and we're very excited to talk to you again today and do a bunch of live streams. However, we ended up setting up the live streams a little bit later in the day than we originally thought because no one was available at 11 o'clock. And so we're going to do sort of a I want to say a mock podcast episode. We're going to do a little podcast episode we've been planning for a long time for you first, and then we're going to get into our guests. So I hope you're cool with that. And Monica, do you want to tell everyone a little bit about what we're going to talk about first?
Yes. So we'll be doing Kickstarter success stories today, but our first block, our first episode, is going to be called the sophomore slump. How your second campaign differs from your first campaign, and we think this is a really relevant topic right now for our students at least, and I think our students are fairly indicative of the larger Kickstarter publishing community, but we're seeing lots of people go through their second project and having varying amounts of success, sometimes much better than their first project, sometimes not as good as their first project. And we think all of it's okay, basically. So we're going to talk a little bit about why the second campaign is actually very different than the first campaign and what we think you should do because of that. So
Absolutely. And if you have questions, make sure to put it in the comments so we can answer them as well. We love answering questions and comments here. So, Monica, like, what's with a second campaign? Why is a second campaign so different than a first campaign?
I think the biggest thing is that I think there are a couple things. One is first campaign, people, everybody's excited to back you. Second campaign, people who are backing you just to support you are going to be largely gone. And like some of them will like keep, like your mom will keep backing you every time or whatever. But I think a lot of like friends and like looser connections, they maybe are not going to keep backing you unless they're actually excited about what you're doing, which is not to say they weren't excited the first time, but if they were there more to support you the first time, they may not come back for the second round. So that's a big one. But I
Well,
also think, yeah.
but on top of that, like your fans are going to be the most excited the first time too, because it's like a brand new kind of like thing. So it's not just like your friends and family. Just like generally, there's an excitement about like, oh, your first Kickstarter. Oh, that's so fun. Yes, I want to do it. That doesn't necessarily translate to following campaigns. Sorry, what was the other thing you were going to say?
Oh, I was just gonna say that the other thing is that Kickstarter, similar to retailers, similar to anything you do in life, it's not like an upward trajectory the whole time. It's not like, oh, I hit 6K this time, so I'm gonna hit 10K next time, and then I'm gonna hit 14K, and then I'm gonna hit 20K. Like it's not really how it works. Just like anything, there are ceilings and floors to every project, that vary greatly by genre, by even time of year, even like the way in which you promoted it, even just all sorts of things. And so we see a lot of when we see projects that fund, like the second project funds less than the first project. A lot of times, like there are some of those things that are out of the creator's control, but it can make them feel bad if they don't know that that's what's happening. They may blame themselves for it, but then there's also there's some stuff that's in their control as well that they could that they maybe didn't tend to as well on the second campaign as they did on the first. And so yeah, do you want to do? Should we start with uh, the things that you can't really control? Maybe.
Sure. So I don't know. So the things you can't control is what else is on Kickstarter at that time and like what is happening in the world at that time. This happened a lot with the comics community where suddenly you were seeing publishers come in, like big publishers, and they were sucking people said they were sucking a lot of the air out of the room. because like they were doing like Boom is basically constantly on Kickstarter now doing like $250,000 campaigns, and you're like, you can't like like Kickstarter is a platform for like everyone trying to create another
Mm-hmm.
a project that
Yeah.
is not like a like uh well, like they have some standards, some ethical standards that they have that like they don't want certain kinds of projects on their campaign, or like people that are like spouting hate or like known hate group. Like so like this, but like for the most part, it's for people that anyone who want to fund a creative project, and that includes like Archie Comics, and that includes
Right.
Boom, and that includes
Yeah.
you, and like there are all of these things, and like I refuse to go to a world where like I am not inclusive of those projects as
Yeah.
well, especially because like if Pebble Watch can make $10 million or $40 million on whatever, however their number was on a campaign, and Cool is Cool and all these things can make that much money and still keep coming back, then like a comics company can, a publishing company can. Like we're trying to grow the overall platform, and all of that stuff, whether you think it's good or bad, like should be available to all creators. And
Right.
so to me, those are the things that are like, hey, if you have a heart attack, or like you get sick, or your mother gets sick, or you get sick 3 times in a month, you have a death in the family, like all of these things, like you can't prevent, and like they're just the world happening, and
Mm-hmm.
you have to then make sometimes some very tough decisions, but there's a lot in your control as well.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I agree with all that. I'm trying to think of other things that are not in your control. I think genre is actually a pretty big one, um, where like your project may just have a ceiling because it's not as popular on Kickstarter. You know, like when I'm looking at, so I've done two fiction projects on there. Only one has launched, but it was about angels. You know, like the series was Angels, and it is kind of a weird series too. It was like my first series, so like, you know, there's only so much I can do to make that series make sense in the context of the way indie publishing is right now, and like right to market and all of that. So you know, I struggled to get to 50 followers on that project because it was kind of like weird, and angel fantasy is not the most popular thing in the genre. But then the second project, it's kind of like a it's witches, but it's which are more popular, right, and also they're more popular right now in fiction, but also they're more popular in October and September. Witch stuff is like, yeah, let's do witches. And for that one, it has like a Jane Austen tie-in. It has like, because it's witches, and because like witch, you know, like I like tarot decks and oracle. Like you can see in my, if you're watching this on video, you can see like behind me, I have about 100 decks like on my bookshelves behind me, because I collect decks. So it just made sense to do a deck that ties into these books because it's witchcraft, and like I can write it into the book. And, you know, there were like all these tie ins that were exciting to people. And so that project has 183 followers right now. I'm unfortunately not going to launch it during Witchstarter like I had wanted, but I'm sure Witchstarter gave it a huge boost just being in that category. But it's like, you know, that's a project where it's like it just had a higher ceiling because people like Jane Austen and people like tarot, and they don't know who I am, they don't care who I am, but they're like, maybe this could be cool. And so I still have to prove that to them before they back. But you know, it was able to get more visibility, drastically more visibility than it would have. So, you know, as you're planning your projects, I think it's worth considering. Well, I think it's worth looking at the project and being honest with yourself about what the ceiling is for Kickstarter in particular. But then I also think you can it is in your control a little bit because you can choose a project, which Russell has done, and now I am seeing the value of too. Choose a project that you know is going to do well on Kickstarter. So like we've seen a couple Mary Shelley projects come through our our Accelerator now, and they fund pretty quickly, like people
Yeah.
like Frankenstein stuff.
Yeah.
So that's popular on Kickstarter. And you did Cthulhu, which is
Yeah.
one of the most popular things on Kickstarter ever, basically.
For sure. I think that like it comes down to a couple of buckets, like what people are not doing as well, or the second campaigns. Like one of them is people do their first campaign for their most popular series or their most popular thing. And like they do really well. And then their next thing is like an odd, weird thing that hasn't done well on retailers, and like they and we tell you like to do these projects, like they're what Kickstarter's for, like odd, weird projects. But then people are like, well, why didn't it fund as well? And you're like, well, your first series was like a reverse harem shifter romance, and your second series was like about like creatures that cook bread, like, and their recipes, and you're like, that's just a weirder topic that like there's not as many people for, and that's absolutely okay. Like they but there is that. So that's one, and then people get upset that they can't do that. And frankly, like I've done this too, where like I had two comic projects that were monsters and like horror adjacent and fantasy, and they did really well. Then I did a mystery novel, told them blog posts, and I made like $3,400, which was less than the previous two. And I was like, what happened? And people are like, it's not monsters. Like that's what I kept learning. People kept seeing like, I'm happy that you're doing these things, but like I want monster comics from you,
Right.
and do that. And that is actually what led to our biggest success, where I took a year or so off of doing monster comics, and then I came back with monsters and other scary shit, and it blew the roof off of anything else that I ever done. So that's one bucket. The second bucket is like, oh, I know how to do this now, so like I'm just gonna design my page the way I want to design my page,
Right.
and like they don't take the care that they did the first time, they don't get the feedback they did the first time, and then they're like, what happened? Why don't my audience coming? And then we look at the page and we're like, well, like this is bad. Like they're not converting because this page is bad, and like they're not just gonna come and give you money because like you exist. Like it takes you doing work. And
Right.
it's kind of that thing. I don't want. There's an author who's very famous for having spent many years doing her first book in a series, and it's a really good book, and then did not have the time to do book. Like you don't have 10 years to do book 2. You need to get it in a year, and like the quality is vastly different from book 1 to book 2 and book 3, because she didn't have an advisor advising her. She didn't have 100 editors giving her time. She didn't
Right.
have a million beta readers. She couldn't do what, and there's artists that are like this. There's all of these kinds of that, like they get to the point where they're like, wow, I got a great book, but they can't replicate it the second time. And that is very true with Kickstarter campaigns as well. But and so like those are the two main buckets, I think. And then people that do better on their campaign like are almost the inverse of that. They
Right.
did like,
Exactly. They just did the
like
opposite of that.
yeah, like we started with one of the first campaigns that launched was a really awesome author, and they did a campaign, and like very successful author, and they raised about $2,000. And we were like, why did this raise $2,000 and not like 10 grand? And I don't understand. And then like we found out that they had launched the book also on Amazon at the same time. And we were like,
Or
oh,
like
well, like,
shortly after. Yeah, we
yeah,
had like a number of people, but like we also I didn't fully understand that at that time in our accelerator, like how detrimental it was going to be. So and I think you did. You understood it. It was very clear to you. You were like messaging me. You're like, I'm concerned because a number of people in the accelerator are doing a book that they're going to be launching on Kickstarter on retailers like at the same like simultaneous launch or like a couple weeks later or whatever, that was like, yeah, it's probably gonna be okay, and you're like, it's going to fail badly. And so nobody failed, like, just to be clear, but yeah, it does hurt to
Yeah.
have those like simultaneous releases.
But it's okay also to do that,
Sure.
because she's like, they didn't even think Kickstarter was going to be in their plan. And then they're like, I have this
Right.
launch, I'll launch it on. So, and then they do the second campaign, and like the campaign's not over, and it's already more than almost tripled the previous
Right.
campaign
Yeah.
because, and then the other part of this is like sometimes people launch on Kickstarter and maybe they don't follow most of what we tell them in the accelerator because they think they know what they're doing better than us. And then they're
Yeah.
like, oh, there's a reason for all of these things because nobody backs their campaign or very few people. And then they follow the system, and then
Right.
their next campaign like knocks it out of the park. So you have those, and then also people that like do just like any random anniversary book or like some book in their back catalog just to test it out. And then they're like, oh, this worked really well. And now I'm going to do it with my big
Like the
honking
good, yeah.
series. And like, then they blow the
The
roof off
good
that. So
series, yeah.
like it's almost, like I said, it's almost the inverse of people that like have a sophomore slump. The people that like that blow it off the roof the second time. And then there is those people that like they just that they needed 2 or 3 campaigns to like keep building
To get
on a
up, yeah.
series over time, and that also happens. But that the slump is mostly, I think, for one of those 2 reasons. Would you agree?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I think, I would add in there not just your fans, but also, like maybe you called in a ton of favors for your first campaign, and then your second campaign, you're not really able to call those favors in again. And I think there's some of that too. Just like your resources are going to be, you're going to be better at Kickstarter, hopefully, on your second campaign. Your resources are going to be slimmer because you have maybe like you've tapped into your audience in the past, you've tapped into your connections in the past, whatever it might be. And so you've got to have a system of rebuilding those resources, or renewing them in some way. And you're not, though, Russell, I would say you have a very stable audience, and you've not done a crazy amount of audience building on the fiction side in the last couple years, I would say. And I feel like you have been able to sustain a lot of your campaigns. So you
Yeah.
want to talk
So
about that?
yeah, so I have a couple of rules. Rule one
Okay.
is like I will only launch a series once a year, because that is another thing that I have learned is
Yeah.
like if you launch a series multiple times in the same year, like just people haven't read the first series, or like they were
The first
excited, but
book,
like
so yeah, they're
yeah,
not willing to pick up the second book.
yeah, and that's sort of what like you see with a big publisher, right? They might publish multiple books from an author in a year, but they're not publishing the same series multiple times in a year. So if that's why I do sometimes I'll do like 3 books in one series at the same time. Because I'm like, this is my launch for this series in this year. I try to keep to vary the format. So like I had an anthology, I had a novel series. I try not to run the same kind of thing within 6 months of each other. So like you could do pin campaigns, or so I had a comic come out in September. I had a anthology come out earlier this year. I had 2 book series. One of them was a complete series. One was the completion of another series. And now I have like a much smaller book, and all of them have much different audiences of much different sizes. And that is the biggest thing that you kind of learn doing this for a long time is like, oh, I launched 5 projects this year and they all didn't hit the same number. Like, why did
Right.
double the people hit the Cthulhu book than anything else that I did, and 4 times, 8 times more? Well, like they wanted it more. They wanted that thing more. And they have told me they wanted that thing more. I also had so many more people helping me on that campaign than anything else. So I'm very big at like picking and choosing and planning like a year and trying to like make sure your stuff is varied. So the same people aren't like, okay, I got my book from this person. Now what? It's like, no, you got a novel from me about dragons. Why didn't you get a novel of me that's Portal Fantasy? Why didn't you get
Right.
a anthology with just 70 creators? Why don't you get like a comic book series? Like, there's all of these things that you can do to excite the audience over time, but you do have to understand that like they're not going to buy just because you put a book out there. They're going to buy because they like they are ready to buy that kind of thing, and they love when you do Y thing. And you know, it goes to this, like I'm slightly sad that my favorite book that I've ever written, single book I've ever written, is currently on Kickstarter and it hasn't even broken 200 backers yet. Like, it breaks my heart that everyone that backed every book is not buying this book. But at the same time, like, I understand, like, even though it is a witchy book, it is more romance than I generally do. Like, people are tapped out from 4 other campaigns this year. You know, something I said didn't like connect with them on this one, and like, that's a me problem. It's only one book, it's not a series. People are seeming to like more series from. So there's all of these things that go into it. I'm not putting as much resources into it as I do for other books. Like, we're not on podcasts. I'm not doing it. It's all for my audience. Like, there's an election coming up in like a week.
Right.
So
In
like,
the US. Yeah.
there's all of these things that are factors that are driving down the thing that I also only had like a week or two prep to like get this ready for my
Sure.
audience. But this is all of these things that like determine the how high something can climb. I don't think it was stopped by like the voraciousness of the audience of like whether they want witchy stuff. But like, there is like, they literally just bought a book from me for $40 like 2 months ago. And a lot of people will say, and I send out my list of all of my launches every year at like December, and people pick and choose, and they're like, I'm gonna back this one and not this one. And like, this one looks
Right.
cool, but like,
Because they
I've
have a
only got
budget. Yeah.
like 50 Russell dollars. And like, so I'm breaking it up over all of this time, which is another thing that happens as with doing a second campaign. You know, the first campaign, like, they had maybe unlimited Monica dollars to like spend on the first campaign. And the second campaign, they're like, wait, this is a thing you're going to be doing a bunch. Well, now I have to step back and see
Yeah.
like what is going to happen. Do I want it? I have to be more judicious than just launching forward. And you have to understand there's that entropy that you almost get a free pass of entropy the first time because people are like, that's exciting. And then the second time, all of that buyer entropy kicks in again, and you have to do the work. And I think a lot of people, they just don't think they have to do the work for the second campaign because they've already had a success the
Right.
first time. And that is the same thing on retailers, frankly. And the same
It
thing
is.
with like
Yeah.
outside of authorship. Like, it's just a thing.
Right. I agree. So we are going to have 2 Kickstarter stories, and then we are going to be back talking about this topic kind of in more depth, I think. We're going to be going through some of Russell's campaigns and talking specifically about how, like what you just heard him say, like we're going to be talking specifically about how he plans out his years, how his current campaign differs from previous ones. Also, something that Russell is incredible at that nobody knows his secret power, but I do, and it's like the most amazing thing ever to me. He is able to predict, usually within $1,000, how much his campaigns are going to hit before he launches them. And so we're going to talk to him about how he does that. So lots of really advanced stuff, and that's going to be coming up. So again, we're going to do about an hour of success stories. We have Nicola Andrews waiting in the wings. Super excited to talk to her very soon. Then we have another author coming in at the half hour mark, and or at the next half hour of that. Then we'll dive deeper into Russell's stuff, and then we have one more Kickstarter success story, and then that'll be the end of our live stream. Do you want to talk a little bit? So the other thing is that our Kickstarter Accelerator program is open right now. It's an early bird, and so we're just going to spend a couple minutes talking about that. Do you have it up, or should I
I'm
just ramble
I-
about it?
I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna do it in a
All
second.
right.
Yeah, I'll have it live
So,
in right now. Okay, so like we really truly are in early bird for this. Like usually early bird is before launch, and like we really do feel like this is like the before real launch time that we're trying to give you a ton of extra stuff for like coming in early. So if you've been thinking about it on the fence, I can tell you I'm just going to drop down to like where the actual offer is because you probably know what the Kickstarter Accelerator is. So the biggest thing you get is if you is the early bird bonus is really really incredible right now because you get access to not just the Kickstarter Accelerator but the direct sales accelerator. And we just had our second sales call, our second like Q&A call with them, and y'all, I'm just gonna like it like keeps blowing my mind how amazing the people are like in the group, how seriously they're taking all of their stuff, and like they are just like they're going to kill it in the next year doing direct sales.
oh
And
yeah.
like I've been doing videos, I've been doing tech because tech is the hardest part to do. So like I'm not doing any of like we're doing the calls that we're doing, like we talk about stuff, but like every time in a call like that there's a big topic, big hairy topic that we keep bringing up, I'll do like a little tech video about it. And so, but most importantly, you get this, you get not just the direct sales accelerator, which will help you take the Kickstarter and make it like a part of your basically your monthly sales. You'll also get access to a grip of amazing courses. So for free on top of the direct sales accelerator, because direct sales accelerator curriculum comes with all of these courses, you get my build a super fandom course, which will show you how to like pick fans and create things that they're going to love and then scale it to the moon. You'll get my Facebook ads course, my viral builder course, my Kickstarter anthology course, and a whole bunch more. And then Monica, you have a bunch of courses in here. And I realize I keep talking about them, but why don't you talk for a second about the courses you have in
Sure.
this?
Yeah, so there's a couple of courses here. One is the author mindset, using the accelerators formula. So I wrote a book about this back in maybe 2018. It's kind of pulled and in revisions right now, but it's really about just how you can up your mindset in the author space specifically. And I give a lot of good examples in there. It's actually a really great book. I turned it into a course. And so you'll get that. You'll get kind of like the mindset stuff that I use. So if you're into journaling and all that stuff, it can be really helpful to add in addition to like doing strategy and tactics and all the other stuff that's important in the author space. Build your book launch plan. It basically, it's very relevant to Kickstarter. It's very relevant to direct sales. It basically just talks about time limited promotions. And yeah, it's really good course that talks about how you build out a book launch plan, pretty much. The copywriting masterclass, a lot of the stuff there is taken from nonfiction, but I massage it into a fiction framework as well, to kind of give you both sides of that. And then list building for authors, it really is just to open your eyes about how you can list build. And what I'll say is that one of the things about list building is that when you have really good autoresponders, which we are teaching in the direct sales accelerator, we are also teaching it in the Kickstarter accelerator. But when you have a great autoresponder that does what you want, that helps you convert people into that helps you get people to purchase things that they're excited about and that you're excited about, that you're producing for them, then it makes a lot more sense to do all sorts of things for list building, because you know that if you get a relevant lead, you know that you are able to convert them into a customer at some point through your autoresponder. And so I think this course really focuses on like yeah, how you can build your list, given because we already teach the side of like how you can convert people on your list into buyers. But then this is just like, here's how you can blow up your list like quite quickly,
Right.
and
Awesome.
going beyond some of the strategies. So yeah.
Awesome. That's
Well,
$3,000 of bonuses. Once the early bird is over, we are taking that away. It will only be available on the you'll only be available if you do our VIP upgrade, which includes a year access to our Go Wide, Grow Wide incubator. So if you are interested in that, head on over to kickstartyournovel.com. I do not want to leave Nicolette waiting because I'm
yeah.
very, very
Apologies.
excited to talk to her. So let's bring her on. I'm going to drop this, remove that, and bring on Nicolette. Hi, Nicolette.
Hi, Nicolette. How are you?
Good. How are you guys?
Good.
I'm very excited to talk with you because I've been watching your campaigns for the last like 6 months or so since you joined the accelerator, and I love all of them. So I love.
Thank
I
you.
know.
That's such a huge compliment.
If you want to, you want to tell us a little bit about yourself and the campaigns you run, and then we'll get into some questions.
Yeah. So I've been indie publishing for almost a decade. It'll be a decade next March. And I'm probably like one of those people that's like just always flown under the radar, like very like I've never had like a huge breakout. I've never been like I guess just never the top, but I've always kind of just been persistent just because I'm stubborn like that. And when Jenny was actually the one that did the campaign first, and I was like watching her campaign, and I was like, oh my God, this is so cool. Like her campaign convinced me to read her book for the first time, even though we've been friends for years and years.
Right.
And so I was about to launch a book, a new series, my first campaign. I was about to launch it anyway. And I was like, yeah, why not? Like the book was ready. I was like, I jumped in, I did all you guys' courses and stuff. And then I leaned really heavy into the things that were similar but different than the campaigns you've seen. And then when I did my second one, I kind of iterated on what I had done before, where this was actually a retailer flop, and it's bigger than my first campaign. Because it was at the time I was too weird, and I realized I just wasn't leaning into the things that made it special and like the right kind of I learned how to tweak my marketing basically to hit the right targets.
I love it. I love this graphic. This single graphic is like
Me
really
too.
like it could be so instructive. It's so instructive of like kind of all of the things that like we like you had like the room and the space to like really push in and be like, oh look, I like all of those things.
Yeah. I actually got this. This wasn't originally my idea. I saw this on Bookstagram. So like a lot of this stuff, like a lot of the education I've been doing as far as like figuring out targets is really spending a lot of time in reader spaces. And like that's very popular among Bookstagrammers to give you this like really quick, like bam, 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 here's all the things about this you'll love. And like the whole aesthetic of it is something I learned just from like Bookstagrammers and stuff like that. So I didn't make it up. I can't take credit for that.
Sure.
But yeah, I love it's very effective like in a campaign setting, but also in social media settings, because it's like I've had for this campaign, the last campaign, I did something similar, and it's very good at converting. Like just the imagery pops really well, and it just really it says a lot without saying a lot, if that makes sense.
Right. Yeah, I agree with that. And I remember your first campaign. I believe it was a romance between a dragon and was it a witch? I think I got the book. Oh, maybe an ordinary girl.
Mostly ordinary. Like it's not necessarily a witch. It's kind of complicated. I was going to say normal girl. But yeah, dragon shifter and a person.
And it was so well done. Like your tagline was killer on that. I know I didn't get it during the campaign because like I just back way too many campaigns, so I have to limit myself. I got it. I think I got it after though in your backer store. So it was called Dragon's Deception. But I'm trying to. I don't know if we can pull up the. Well, first of all of this art is gorgeous. I don't know if we can pull up the tagline, but it was like the tagline is what sold me. I think because it was a fake romance or something.
Oh yeah,
like my
kryptonite.
This
one.
Oh, but
that one or the one that's right above the blurb?
I think the one that's above the blurb was probably. Well, I don't know what it is, but
I think it's right there. Yeah.
This one?
Yeah, something about it must not be like a specific tagline, but because this tagline is how could a fake engagement between royals go wrong when one of them is secretly a were-dragon, which is super fun. Like it that kind of like, you know, if you're doing like Theodora Taylor's universal fantasies.
Yeah.
Like this is like a lot of butter for me,
Yeah.
personally. But I think there was something about this campaign where it was like fake romance, it was dragons, it was royalty, and a lot of I write a lot of those tropes too, and I was just like, boom, like this is for me. So
Yes.
I think that's what kind of the beauty of Kickstarter, is that you can go deeper into like the specific tropes or butter or whatever you want to call it, for people, and it can feel like, wow, this book was like literally created for me, versus on a retailer where it's like, I don't think I would have been able to find this book because they don't have a category called like dragon, fake romance, shifter, royalty. Like they just don't have that category kind of like anywhere on the site.
Exactly. Yeah, the retailers are very broad stroke. I've realized it's like, it's very because the way the categories break down, it's like it's dragons, but dragons encompasses everything from dragon riders to to dragon shifters, and then like it could be romance or no romance, and there's so much nuance to it. And it's just, I'm finding that readers are they'll have very specific tastes, but it's also like a mood thing where it's like, oh, maybe I'm just in the mood for adventure, maybe I'm just in the mood for romance, and it just like, you can't quite do that with retailers the way you can with Kickstarter. There's so much more room to play with just a lot of different angles.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that.
Well,
yeah, go ahead, Russell.
I was just gonna say, like, what I love about this tagline specifically is a lot of authors that when we look at campaigns, they don't bring any of the fun of their books into them. Like they don't like, it reads like not even marketing copy, because marketing copy can be quite fun. It reads more like a doctoral thesis. And like I'm always telling people, like, would you want to read this book if like you just read this tagline? And like, not just that, but like a blurb is like very much in the same way. Like if you're reading a blurb, like, do you finish and did you check all of the tropes? Sure, you checked all of the word. Like there's literally nothing wrong with any single word or even how you put them in order. But like, it's just so banal and bland. And it's like, it reads like your teacher or your mom or like somebody who like runs the course that you're in, like told you these are the things you have to put in. And like, what I love is like, it's just so like, it doesn't have any of the things that we say to put. It's not constructed in the way, but it also is everything that we want to see in this thing. Because at the end, as Monica said, you're like, well, if there's one thing that I know Monica will buy, like if it's got royals in it, like if it's a royal romance, like you've got Monica. Like,
you do, you have me.
Yeah, so like it's got the fake engagement, it's got the royals, it's got the shifter, like it's got like, all of this stuff. And like you don't have to put the word shifter. You can just say were dragon. Like there we go. Like
were dragon, I was like, I know what that is.
Yeah, exactly.
But I think, I agree. What Russ, like only because we see so many titles and subtitles in like all of things, like even like not just in our course, because like people in our course tend to be better at this than people outside of our course. But I think what you do so well on that page and on your newer campaign is that you have the tropes in there, but like you go beyond the tropes, because sometimes we'll see like we see a lot of cozy mystery ones that are like an amateur sleuth has to solve a murder mystery, basically. And you're like, that is literally the definition of cozy mystery. So you're not like really saying anything new in that, if that's like your whole tagline. But I think you've done a good job of like, you didn't say like it's a young adult dragon shifter romance. Like it doesn't say that anywhere. It actually gives like the conflict and puts royals in there. And like I think that is a part of the success of the campaigns, and why why they're doing so well is just going beyond that trope, just in the that's specific to title, subtitle. But I think that can go through through the whole, you can see that through the whole page and the every part of the campaign. So
it feels like a world that I want to live in, and this is not like my series. Like it feels like a world that is lived in and like fun and enjoyable, and like like I would want to read 100,000 words in that series, and that's that's kind of like the point, right? It's like this page is to sell you that you were going to spend a lot of time with me.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
Well, so we should probably ask you switch back to asking you questions.
You can just compliment me. That's fine.
Yeah, we're just like going
complimented.
So what do you think have been some of your success factors in addition to some of the things that we've all already talked about?
The first thing when you first asked me to talk was like visuals was the first thing that came to my mind, because like I look at a lot of other campaigns too, because like I love research, and I think the biggest thing is
I love your visual right
giving
here.
people like eye candy helps a lot, I think, because the campaigns I want to back are the ones that have like just really like that keep me scrolling the page because there's more to see, and like breaking it up. Like I do a lot of interplay with like the headings I make, the bolded headings that they provide. And I found in this campaign, especially the things that I had visual representation for, they converted so much better as far as like pledges. If I did a flash goal, when I offered an actual like clip of like the audiobook, like the short story audiobook I was doing as a flash goal, that converted so much better than something where I said, hey, I don't have like this coloring page yet, but you'll get a coloring page.
Right.
Did not meet that goal. And it was like same time frame, but it was like if they can see it and they know what they're getting, they're going to be all in. And it makes a huge difference. And the same thing, like something I learned from the course was just like taking all this stuff, piecemealing it out over the length of my campaign, and then it, like creating visuals to go with it, like helped like sell it from different angles to my existing audience too. And I think that visuals is huge. And like this where you're at right now, that's like AR art. That's from a art breeder. And it's just like it's free AI art that I could use in the meantime until like I actually commission the actual art. So they still have something to kind of look at and kind of get the vibes and stuff like that.
And I love that you're saying vibes, because like I use it all the time in the course. Like the thing has like the vibes, you know, you want to keep going. Like look at this, like just look at this, like you're like, okay, this isn't special edition, but like what does that even mean?
So
well, it means look at how pretty this like first page like, of these chapters are. Like look at the world. Like it's got this like creepy kind of old, like almost like quality to it. But then like look at the two characters. It's like, do you want to like watch her fall in like with this do you want her to fall in love with him? Like yes, but like the visuals, you're like, okay, like I absolutely want to watch like read a book where like this beautiful person falls in love with this beautiful person.
It's so true. Yeah, I agree with that. No, I love that you said that. It's something that nobody has really mentioned so specifically before. But I think, you know, Kickstarter is so much about product. So like what you're talking about is really giving them a visual of the product beforehand.
Exactly. And they're very physical focused. Like both my campaigns, it was mostly people backing for physical products. So because it's so much more, and it's such a different section of the market, because I think a lot of us are so used to ebook sales where it's like it's all about fast and cheap, and it's kind of it's a big pivot from creating the fastest what is the term I always hear, minimum viable product. And this is very much about creating a luxury product, and you're selling to a luxury customer, and it's a very different mindset. And that's why you kind of have to like finesse it a little bit more and be like, look, this is what, because like this last campaign, the hardcover was $60. So it's like if they're spending $60, that's a big ask for a book that somebody could buy for $5 an ebook. So it's just like having like the 3D mock-ups and like the visual things, I think, and also putting more into the quality. Like I just made sure I like, because like Amazon print on demand is great, but the quality paper is not the same as like a hair, like even Ingram has better paper quality than like, it's just like there's so many little things that you want to make sure you're addressing and like selling the, I guess the fantasy. It's another butter thing. It's these people's butter, because it's like to go back to Bookstagram, special edition hardcovers are really, really popular right now. Like huge authors are selling a single book for like $100 with a couple little add-ons, and it's like it doesn't just apply to them; it applies to everybody, because all readers love special hardcover, like special books. I was talking to my best friend who's like an avid reader, And she agreed with me. She was like, yeah, she's like, I'll collect my favorite books. I'll collect them over and over and over again, multiple editions, because I love them. And that's kind of what the mindset I'm going into is like, I may not be like huge on Amazon, but I do have a very core dedicated audience that has followed me over my entire career. And they are the ones that show up day one, and they're the ones that fund me. And then it's like the rest of it's just kind of the discovery process is like, because this one, it was like I had most of my funding on day one, and then like the rest of it was Kickstarter, because like my fans showed up first day, and the rest of the time it was just like Kickstarter just recommending it basically.
Could you
That's
talk
awesome.
a little bit about the you said the discovery process, because this is what always freaks me out. No matter how much I fund on day one, I'm always like, but this is all I'm going to fund. And then at the end of the campaign, you're like, oh no, it doubled or tripled
Yeah.
from that like first couple of days. Can you talk about that a bit?
Yeah, this time I felt a little bit more confident, but there were points where I was like, oh no, this is it. This is as far as I'm going to go. This campaign was a little rough because like I had like 10 cancellations over the duration of the campaign. So it was like more than the first time. But this time I got Project Love. I didn't get it first time. So this time I did get it. And the difference is very stark, because like because I'm very big into data, so I looked a lot at like, okay, where are these people coming from? I had unique like tracking links for my newsletter, for my social media, and it's just like it was like footer, discovery page, things like that. And it's just I think if you do what Kickstarter, like if you do the right things and like you like connect with the community, because I did a lot of swaps too, like I was big, like I was everywhere. And I think just working within the system and how it's set up, where it's like Kickstarter wants to show people projects that people like. So it's like they are showing, like the more involved you are, the more you're talked about, the more you're driving traffic there. They seem to reciprocate the love, because it was just like all like I wish I could show you a screenshot, but like my whole dashboard is just like little tiny like sections of like 10% came from here, 1% came from here, and it was like most like over half of it this time was from Kickstarter. It was crazy, because you could just tell they were just pushing it. And I would surf the web and I would see myself popping up all over, because it was just like
like in ads
engine.
in ads, or like what do you mean?
No, just like at the footer, like if you scroll
when you searched on Kickstarter.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, gotcha.
Yeah, exactly. Like they're good about pushing campaigns that are like tracking well.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
we talk about how the Kickstarter algorithm is not as sophisticated as Amazon, but it is still an algorithm, and their job is to like get people to buy books, and they want to buy books that are popular, and that's why it's so important to in our talk for RAM, and I think for 20 books, and probably moving forward, I have a lot of screenshots about just everywhere Kickstarter will show you. Like they show you when someone backs a project, they show you more projects. When someone gets in, when they send the email that's like, hey, you backed a project, like they send like your invoice, they send they send more things. Like on the pages, they send things. When you just go over to the bottom, they send it. When you're going through like and searching and see the project of the day, there's all of these places that you can be found more. And as you mentioned, like the more you're found, the more options you have to be found, the more often they are pushing you out there, the more you will be found. It's weird like that. The world is weird like that. You know?
Yeah. And I will say that the great thing about Kickstarter, I think that is unique and it's different from Amazon, is because it's finite. The projects are finite. So it's like, even though your project's doing really good, it only lasts for, on average for publishing, it's like a month. So it's like, it's only going to last a month. So it's like, there's more churn, and there's more churn in a good way. Cause it's like Amazon, there's a lot of churn, but it's in a way where it's like, you're constantly fighting to like keep the top spot. And it's like, whoever nowadays, it's like who has the deepest pockets can like pay for the top spot, to stay up there and stay visible through their advertising system. But it's not the same with Kickstarter. Cause it's like, there's I noticed too, like if I was like linked with another campaign that was popular, you get lifted up with that campaign in the same way you do like in also bots. But it's just like as soon as a more popular campaign disappears, you can see yourself surge, because it's like now there's no more. They're not getting the top spot. You're in a higher spot and things like that. So that's nice. It's an advantage because it's so short and you can focus so much more energy on like an intense campaign.
Absolutely. And there's only like even if they are big names that are on the thing, it's usually like 5 of them compared to like 1,000 of them literally going live. And also I always say, like, yes, if you're competing against Brandon Sanderson, although like I don't think that's an appropriate word, but if you think you're competing against Brandon Sanderson, is it better to compete against like one Brandon Sanderson campaign or literally every book he's ever done and his new campaign? I would much rather only compete with the 4 books he has on Kickstarter than those books and like all of the other things, plus everyone else's big
all the other people who are as popular as Brandon Sanderson.
Yeah, exactly. And the thing with like a Sanderson is he's bringing more people into the platform, because like right after he did it, a really popular urban fantasy author, Sherilyn Kenyon, came on, and her campaign was not like, not to disparage her, but like it wasn't like as well put together, but she raised like $500,000, and it's like, and like that brings in so many more people that are now familiar with the like how it works. Because like with my first one, my people, like they never heard of it before, and I could see like I was their first campaign they ever backed. And it's like the more people get in the system and the more book readers there are, the better it is for everybody. So it's like I don't really even think like Sanderson or the more popular ones are like we're competing, because it's like you were saying earlier, like it's like, oh, I only have so much money for this, but it's like every book reader ever has more money for other books. It's like you have like how much you're willing to spend on your favorite, but then it's like you also have this like secret like fund of like, oh, this is for the new discovery, the books I just found. And it's like the more people on the platform, the better, and the more it builds, the more it's going to I think it accumulates for the whole community, because it is more of a community type platform and less of like let's tear each other down or like compete with each other kind of platform.
Well, and I think competition, like truthfully, competition does not come into play until like way more people would have to be on the platform for it to turn into competition. Because I would say like on retailers, specifically Amazon, and specifically like some of the like maybe like the KU program or some of the programs out there, like competition is real and is creating a real effect there at this point of like really lowering people's incomes. Or revenue, business revenue. Whereas on Kickstarter, I just don't think that effect is happening yet, because there really just is not enough competition for it to be happening yet, kind of like you said. So I do think we have at least a few years before Kickstarter actually is competitive in that sense, which means this is a great time to like get in and start building your audience.
Absolutely. So we have Therina coming on next, and I'm also really excited for her. I'm really excited for all of the people that are here today, because like, oh, Nick, who haven't I talked to that I would really love to talk to? And like, you're one, Therina's one. So I would love if you could just tell us where you can find your books, give us a last piece of advice, and then we'll say our goodbyes.
Okay. So you can find my books. I'm at nicolaandrews.com. That's where like I have like a web store and everything up there. And then I'm trying to think last piece of advice. Honestly, I think that just the biggest thing I think people fear about is just keep talking about yourself. Like I think I replied to one of you in a it's like this idea that like you're already said it once and you don't need to say it anymore. It's like you just have to keep talking about it. Like you have to keep pitching it, because it's like there's so much noise on social media and online, and like even your newsletter. I see a lot of people that fear talking to their newsletter. They're like, oh, I don't want to bother them talking to them more than once a month. It's like, just do it weekly. It's for your benefit. Like keep talking. You can take up space. You're allowed to take up space.
Oh, I love that. I love that. That's a great final thought. Well, thank you so much, Nicolette.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you so much. Bye.
All right. I love that so much. And I can say that with the comic category, which is easily comics and games are two of the most competitive categories, probably that like we'll run into. Like the design category is also like, but like the technology one, like we probably are not going to like be encountering a lot of people who will be having projects in the design space, like home decor or like technology, like making drones. Maybe we will, but like games for sure. Like I could easily see an author making a game one. I could easily see authors making comics. A lot of authors do run in both realms, like me and JD, who you heard from last week. My friend Luke is another one. Like, so like you can see in these more mature categories, like it really is still not competitive in the way that you think of like Amazon compatibility. And one of the reasons is because like you still have access to your people. Like there's no bot saying, oh, well, you paid 85 cents, so I'm going to now show you this. Like, you all just like have access to your readers as well as all of these other readers.
Yeah, I mean, I would really say, like, as much as people talk about, like, there's so many authors and blah, 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 I would say that indie authorship is still in early adopter phase. Like, I don't see it as, like, even a mature industry still. I still think that we are in an early adopter phase, and we lose so many people. Like, every single year, like, I mean, we've both been in this for over a decade. Like, there is like almost nobody who was doing it 10 years ago that is still doing it today in my circles anyway. Most people have started after me. But then I would also say, like, the only retailer that I think could be labeled as competitive is probably Amazon. All the wide retailers, not even close. Like, you should be able to walk into a wide retailer and, like, if you want to win that game, you should be able to. And I know authors, like, there's some authors who are like, yeah, I went to Barnes and Noble and said, make me a bestseller, and they they help me out with promo or whatever. And so I think those other like, basically any platform besides Amazon is actually incredibly easily winnable right now in the space. So it's just something to think about. I think Kickstarter is as well. Like, I don't know, like, Russell, you're winning at it. Like, we seem to be winning to the level that we want. But yeah, I think that a lot of platforms are very winnable for most authors. So.
Absolutely. And you can learn more about that if you go to kickstarternovel.com/buy, because our VIP offer is all about the incubator, the Go Wide, Grow Wide incubator, which literally every month, Monica and maybe me sometimes will come on and tell you all about the changes of a specific platform and how to, like, actually create your accounts and your projects to win on that platform. And that's at kickstarternovel.com/buy. It's the VIP offer is $14.99 right now. It will go up to $19.99 when we actually are out of early bird at the beginning of November. That said, let me bring on Therina, and I just realized I might not be saying her name right, so I hope that I have been.
Nope,
no.
she's shaking her head. I thought it was Tarina. Is that right? Yeah. Oh, no.
All right, we're gonna bring her on. You can introduce yourself. We can get the name right. All right. Hi, human. So introduce yourself. I'm not going to say your name again because I'm going to say it wrong.
So my name is Triana, and yeah, it's got an awful rolling R and an E that isn't even in English. So you guys are. I mean, I don't mind. I'm used to people butchering my name,
but I am not okay.
with it. Yeah, I'm not okay with it either. I always don't like that, but
yeah. Okay. Yeah. How about introduce yourself to, like, a little bit about what you do, and I'm going to show your campaign, and you can, like, talk a little bit about that as well, and then we'll get started.
Yeah. So I'm Triana, and I am a professional artist, photographer, and now also author. And so I've been drawing on all of those skills for my Kickstarter. So my first Kickstarter campaign was actually an art book focused on my photography, which came about because Russell, I was going to make this huge art book, and I'm like, I'm not ready. I can't do this. Russell's like, well, why don't you just start small? I'm like, oh, and it was like this big aha moment, like, yeah, I could do that. So I ran a photography art book campaign first because everything was already there, and it was almost like, no, okay, I won't say it was no work because it was work, but compared to my novel, which I'm still brand new at, it was a lot less work than that. And then I just finished up my novel campaign where I drew heavily on my Illustrator experience, and that one kind of blew right up. So it was supposed to have just 5 illustrations and end up with 12 full-page illustrations at the end of the day. And
amazing. Oh, let's look at this graphic.
That's the graphic. That's the graphic we just saw with Nicolette. So, but, like, done in a very different, more ethereal way. I love it.
Yeah, beautiful. Well, so your graphics are incredible, obviously, because you do all your own artwork, you do all your own photography. which I've told you multiple times. It needs to be a deck, which I know you're working on. But
I'm working on, yeah.
Yeah, just for the podcast listeners, please go to her Kickstarter because and like yeah, I just think you have just the best graphics just because yeah, you're an artist. So it works out pretty well.
Yeah.
Tell us what else what other success factors have you seen on Kickstarter? You know, obviously your stuff is beautiful. What else helped you with your funding your campaigns?
Well, like actually, I think it's in the, I don't know, one if you're not the Kickstarter course, the other one I'm in, the Accelerator, I think, or
Yeah.
direct sales. And you have that course in there, and it says about using your unfair advantage. And
Yes.
I think for me, my art is 100% my unfair advantage.
Oh yeah.
Because because I can get it for free, right?
Sure.
So, and I think there was someone else in the group. They were like a tech person, or I don't know, some kind of smart person that does techie stuff. And they ran a campaign. I think they were part of your first Kickstarter group, and they said, "Oh, I just used this for my old thing," and it was like this, you know, again, like this aha moment of, "Oh, okay, well, I'm going to really focus on the art. I've run a luxury art business. I've dealt with prints. I've dealt with all these things. Pricing to me is not an issue. I already value what I do, and it's actually harder for me to go to the quantity-based business model than the quality one. So I don't know. I just definitely drew more on that part of my experience of, you know, I price high because I see the value, but I also add a lot more value for your money when people do it.
I just want to say that your hidden cover is so cool, the blue and yellow, and you also designed. This is like apropos of nothing, but you also designed a interior cover for I think another anthology that I was like, oh my god, I would buy this anthology just for this interior cover, or maybe it was the exterior cover. I don't remember, but I was like, wow, and it was so. Yeah, I have to agree. Like, obviously, your artwork is by far your unfair advantage, just because it's just really beautiful. And I think it's not just that you can get it for free, but it's also that you can express exactly what you want and express your exact vision. And then I also think people, you know, they want a creator who can do both for that reason, because they're like, I'm reading this book and I want the author's exact vision for that, and you know, they have it with you, like you can give them your exact vision for it. So that is very cool as well. So what else aside from that do you think, and anything else that you were able to do? I know you did a lot of promotion on this still. It's not like the artwork, you know, like went out and posted on social media for you or anything.
Yeah. So I think I did exactly what you guys said. Is like I did a pre-launch marketing thing. Like I put it up a month in advance for my novel. And so I started mentioning it in my newsletters. And I'm actually quite involved with both Nicolette in building my newsletter too. So which is really neat. So yeah, like I do weekly newsletters, and every time I would say, this is coming, you should follow it. I shared a lot on my personal page because a lot of people are like, oh, I'm not going to tell people who know me. I'm like, well, either they'll stop following me and they're not my people anyways. And because I'm not that attached to people on social media, or they're already here because they care what I create. So I think you say that, Monica, that, you know, people are already here. So I posted on my personal stuff, and then I also posted I'm more active on Instagram. So I posted daily on there. And I mean, I tried to change up the messaging. And again, I'm able to draw in a lot of different art and pictures. So it's not like just the same picture over and over again. But honestly, like I went and got book brush because I'm lazy and I'd rather do the illustration than the setups for the photography.
Yeah.
So I just, you know, like anyone can do it really. Like if you have your cover, you can make it work. And I think,
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know if that answers your question.
So I have to ask you, like, you just brushed over this thing. Like, what is this extra cover? Like, explain to me, like, what is a secret cover?
Okay, so I actually have a book here now, which I can show people. So initially I made just a limited edition, which has a undercover. So don't mind me, book art everywhere. So Imposter Syndrome made me commission art initially. And then I'm like, oh, well, by the time I did my book, felt like I was good enough. And it's got, like, this is the paper part, and then this is the undercover art that's actually my art. And in the book. And then because I ended up drawing so much stuff, but I'd already submitted all the files to Ingram to get printed, I was like, oh, well, we unlocked like 6 more pictures. And I drew another picture at the very end of the campaign, like literally I could finish the day my campaign ended. And I'm like, well, this would make an even better cover, which, in my opinion. And my husband's like, well, he wants a book that's all mine. So I drew, like, this is the cover.
I love that.
And so I'm like, well, I'll give my backers an opportunity, because it was going to be a stretch goal, but we didn't quite catch it. And so I'm like, okay, well, everybody was really excited about it. And I said, okay, well, I'll do backer kit, which I wasn't going to do initially, but I'll do an upgrade option. And what I'll do is I will actually not only create undercover art, the cover art being this, so the paper part would actually be this one on top of the limited edition. I actually will create 20 extra pages where I'll go into my concept art, I'll go into the art process, because I'm not really fast at writing, so there was no bonus stories for me, but it turns out I'm faster at illustrating. So I just like filled this book with art, and people could pay, so that if they've already bought the hardcover version, then they could just pay 15 extra bucks and get this extra special. And I had, I think, 90% of people upgrade to that version.
Awesome.
So that's so good.
I really just used, I guess, Backer Kit as like not so much a pre-order store, but an upgrade store. It's like, you got this. Let's make it better.
Did you ask that in the survey questions? You said, like, do you want to
upgrade?
I did,
yes.
Yeah. So that's like the killer secret of Backer Kit. When people say, why do you do it? I'm like, well, like, you can do this one thing which you can't do anywhere else, which is, hey, I held this back from the campaign. Do you want it now? And like, you could make just so much money on it. And I love, so in comics, we call it variant covers. Like, we have variants, and like, you don't really see them with like novels. But well, you do see them somewhat in novels, when like a lot of book boxes will do like a special like cover just for their book box, but you don't have the option to be like, here's 5 covers you can choose from. And here's getting all of those covers all together as one thing. And I think that's a really smart potential like option. I think we're going to see it a lot more, because these, there's, especially when you can have multiple styles, like you have one like very graphic heavy, you have one like illustration heavy, you have one that's like photorealistic cover, like you have different options for people might like all of that.
I had people, because I had an option not only that they could upgrade their existing one, they could keep the existing one and buy a second one for cheaper than if they were to add it as an add-on in the survey. So people could just add on, like, and I actually had a couple of people take me up on that, and they just doubled up on the book. I'm like, you just bought 2 of the same novel.
Well, one to read, one to display.
Yeah, people love that. Oh, I'm totally like that buyer where it's like, I will display one and then I will read one. And go ahead.
Because like they're 2 different hobbies. Like book collecting and book reading are 2 very different hobbies. So if you happen like me to have to be a person who has both of those hobbies, like you do want to collect and you want to read also. And I think Monica's so right. Like with like what we've seen with Nicolette too, and a couple of other people have come on, is like the vibes are just so strong in your like not only is it like your own art, but like you really nail like the vibe check of like what you're going to get in your campaign. And there's so much, the imagery just goes in to say, all right, what am I gonna feel? Like authors don't talk about like, how am I going to feel reading this? And like, I don't do a great job of it all the time. I think comics, it's easier because you're like, you're going to feel like this. Here's the art for the comic. But with novels, you really have to be like, this is the heart feel you're going to get with the book. And like, I think you do it so well in your campaign.
Yeah, I agree. And actually, for those of you who are not artists, I actually think, Russell, you do something like this very well, which is that, I mean, you also commission like gorgeous artwork for your stuff, because I know you're not like specifically a illustrator. But I will say that you can do this with words too. Like, one thing I've started to notice about Russell's campaigns is that he always tells people, what is this book actually about? And it's always an emotional push. So instead of saying like, it's about a girl who does this, and like, he's like, this is a book about grieving, or like, you know, it's like something like so specific. This is a book about feeling alone as a child and growing up and learning acceptance. Like, I'm just making this up on the spot, but like, it's always this like deeper theme. And so I think if you're a writer, you can apply some of this too. And I think that's what your campaign does so well, is that you do that, but with the artwork too. And so it's like so aligned.
Well, people buy emotion, right? They don't care about this stuff. I mean, that's why we have art in the first place. I mean, as authors, you sell an emotion. You're not selling the story. I mean, that's the medium, but you're selling the feeling people get from that. And, you know, whether you use art or whether you use words, you really need to it's an emotion you're selling. Like, what is your emotion? Is it belonging? It's that, you know, loneliness? Is it, you know, it can be darker themes. My art tend to be darker. Or is it romance? Like, are you selling love? Are you selling those feel good feelings? And you just have to really, and I mean, I think it was deposit photo, or I don't know, there's some, I don't know the cheap photo places, but there's a lot of accessible art for people if you can't just hire an illustrator. And you can take like one image really far. Like, you can make a sticker out of it, a bookmark, you can make a postcard, you can make an art print, and they're all different price tiers with one picture, right? So you could really stretch like the one thing that you do get.
Yeah,
absolutely.
I agree. And if you're pulling that from deposit photos, make sure you get the extended license. Just FYI.
Yes, absolutely. And like, because like a long time ago, I learned that like people don't buy because of what you did; they buy for what you can do for them, like what your work does to them, for them, the transformational journey. And people are like, well, it's just a book, it doesn't have a transportational journey. I'm like, no, every book that's worth reading has a transportational journey. Like, that's I don't know what yours is. Like, mine is mostly about empowerment, or like overcoming like adversity, or like learning to be more like at home in yourself. But like, those things are like what people get from my books. And like, that is the thing that is front and center. Whereas most people, like, even when we see Kickstarters now, after people have taken 30 hours of our course, like, they're still often just saying, this is a book about a romance between these two characters that do this, and won't they get together at the end? And you're like, well,
it's a romance.
Yeah, it's like, yes, they will. They for sure will. But like, then there's like the stuff that you're doing on your campaign, which is like, you're really bringing it into like what this is going to do for me. Like, this is the heart part of this. And I love that.
Yeah, I agree. Thanks. I wanted to ask a question because I know you're from Canada, and we get a lot of questions about international shipping. Obviously, you do art stuff, so like you're shipping prints and shipping books. I know I backed one of your campaigns. So can you speak a little bit to how it is using Kickstarter as an international creator?
So a lot of people have this block for shipping, and actually that was with my art book why I used BackerKit, because I was freaking out. I'm like, I can't learn both Kickstarter and figure out the shipping thing. I'm like, I'll just put that in the back end for now. So that was my biggest reason for BackerKit. BackerKit is amazing for that, because you can then figure out, okay, well, I didn't have my book at the time and it's shipped by weight and size. So I'm like, well, I don't know. So I kind of, when my book finally came in, I could charge that afterwards. But I went differently with my novel campaign. I actually did drop shipping. for my novel because it's cheaper to ship from the US to the US.
Mhm.
And a lot of people, like the way I covered the personalizing of it is I did signed book plates. And so it was just like, like the normal envelope that you send mail in, you can put a
Mhm.
book plate in it. I did postcard, like a lot of my stretch goals were like postcard sizes. And like just those long envelopes that have my bookmarks. I don't know if I have any here. And they just fit like right in an envelope. And it's like, I think it's $2 Canadian to ship to anywhere in the world, roughly,
Nice. Yeah.
for just and that's just a flat envelope, right? That's the thing that you go to the mailbox, you open, you go buy, and it's
Right.
gone,
Yep.
right? So I actually, because my art prints are 6x9, which is a little bit awkward of a size, so I'm not gonna lie. 6x9 is, well, I love it because it's a really nice, it's the same size as the cover of my book. So
Right.
it's a decent size for an art print. And I just got those hard mailers
Mhm.
and I put it in there and mailed it. And you can get 6x9 size art mailers.
Right.
So you can get stuff that fit. And the smaller you can get your envelope, the better, right? Because
Mhm.
then it's cheaper. But yeah, it's actually, I think it costs between $5 and $15 for me to send a print, or 5 prints. I think I can send up to 5 prints in that price
Okay.
range, which is really not that much.
Yeah.
And that's Canadian. That's not even,
Sure.
that's
Yeah.
like,
So like on the low end of that, it's
mhm,
probably about like
yeah,
$3 or $4 in USD.
yeah,
That's awesome. Because I
yeah,
know, I mean, we talk to people all the time who are, they're kind of
scared.
unsure how to figure that out. Yeah, scared. Understandably. I mean, I'm scared to
Yeah.
ship
Oh, I was.
internationally. Yeah, but I think you've done such a good job at making it work, and
Hmm.
also your campaigns have been really successful. And it
Hmm.
really hasn't been like a topic of conversation. I don't feel from the reader perspective.
Oh
Uh,
no, like I have people backing in, like I've had Frankfurt and
mhm.
Australia, and actually the bulk of, I mean, if I were to cut out and make it Canadian only, which really doesn't make sense because it's actually more expensive to ship to Canada from Canada. But if I were to cut out all international backers, I would have a $20 campaign at the end of the day.
Oh yeah.
So like I would lose out on thousands of dollars if I didn't make it accessible internationally. And
Hmm.
like I know a lot of people that I speak to are American writers, and they're like, I don't want to ship internationally. Well, you guys have it so easy though. You have
Right.
media mail, right? You
Yes.
have like I can't take advantage of the backer kit shipping stuff at all because they don't do it through Canada.
Mm,
So, and from my understanding is that makes things easy. I'm like, well, I don't have that and I can make this work. And,
right.
but yeah, just like little envelopes and put a stamp on it and say bye. It's honestly not that hard.
Yeah, it seems like a really good solution for international shipping in general, even for
Hmm.
US creators,
Yeah.
because you still have international backers. So it's like,
Yeah.
can you drop ship within the country
Hmm.
through whatever means you look into, or at least the major countries, like
Yeah.
the major English language countries, which is UK,
Hmm.
Canada, Australia, New Zealand, which are
Hmm.
probably priced roughly the same. Like, can you drop ship from there? And then, like you said, send the personalized book plates through mail.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's a great solution.
Well,
So
I'm actually a big fan because I have way too many Kickstarters that I back. So I've had to start actually looking at how much shipping is. Like at first I'm like, oh, whatever, I don't care if I pay for shipping. But when a book starts becoming over $100 for just a novel, I'm like, so what I actually started offering was like postcard packs. So you put your cover art on a postcard or a print with the ebook, and that way
mm,
their shipping is lower. Because I buy a book for a cover. I'm not gonna lie. I 100% buy a book for a cover. And I know I'm not the only one, right? So when you do a print or a postcard of your book and you kind of just get that tiny little bit of extra that over the ebook, I get something special and I still get to read your book and support you. So I'm
mhm.
all for like really pushing because I started out collecting postcards when people offer them. So I'm like all for just get that ebook with postcard here and that way people can still be a part of your campaign and back at a higher tier than just your ebook tier. And, it's more special too, but without the massive shipping.
I saw that earlier this year too. We did the same thing, which was the
Make 100 one.
Yeah, the Make 100. It was just like we did 100 postcards, and like people were really excited about that. We also do pins. You can do challenge coins, but something small that someone, like you said, has a tangible, they can tangibly
tactile.
touch. People are very into stuff like that.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, that's interesting around the postcards, because I am not a postcard person, maybe. At least not yet. Who knows if I'll get into it. I used to not be a pin person, but now I'm like kind of more interested in pins as I do more Kickstarter, back more Kickstarter campaigns. So yeah, that's an interesting thing, especially with Make 100 coming up in January, because postcard is kind of like the perfect Make 100 thing to do. To have those special edition postcards. So that's awesome.
Yeah, that's what I'm doing.
Awesome. Well, we are getting to the end of our time together. So I just wanted to give you a chance to give a final pitch where we can find you and give us a little bit of final advice, and then we will say goodbye.
So I'm most active on Instagram, and I have 3 different Instagram accounts. So it's pretty easy though. So it's just Therena, THERENA, and then either _photography, _author, or _art, depending on what you like. Or you can go to my website, which is a work in progress at the moment, but it's authortherena.com. So, and then my advice is don't discount those international backers, right? You're actually losing a lot of, there's so many times I've gone to a campaign, I'm like, oh, I really want to get this stuff, and I was willing to pay the shipping, and they're like, shipped to US. I'm like, that's like the biggest bummer as a backer ever, just saying. So make it available, find a way to do it. I know it's overwhelming and scary at first, because I was there, do backer kit, then just say that's a problem for tomorrow, focus on your Kickstarter. And capitalize on your art. You have a cover. Every book has a cover. I have never seen a white book cover, right? You can turn it into a postcard, turn it into a digital stretch goal, turn it into a sticker, a bookmark. There's so many ways you can use one picture and make it go, or commission artists, because I actually do a lot of interior art commissions for Kickstarter people now. So
Awesome. I love that. Well, thank you so much, Therena. Did I get that right this time?
Therena.
Therena.
There you go.
Therena. Okay. I'm going to get it right next time. Therena.
We'll practice in Vegas.
Yes, absolutely. All right. Awesome. Well, thank you so much for stopping by. We're going to say goodbye to you now. And
you're welcome. Thank you.
Awesome. So, Monica, I need to run out for a second because my wife's not here. Do you want to talk a little bit about the accelerator? And I'll be back in a second.
Okay. So we're going to talk about the accelerator. So let me see. Do I have control of this? Oh, I feel like. All right. I think you're off. Here, let me. I will.
Do you want to screen share it yourself? So
I think I better screen share it. Okay, I will do that. So the Kickstarter Accelerator, we are in early bird right now. So my monitor just keeps falling. I need to adjust it or something. Okay, so Kickstarter Accelerator, let's see if we can pull this up. Let me pull this. Here we go. Apologies for all of this. The Kickstarter Accelerator. So we're in early bird right now, and I will expand this page a bit. Here we go. We are in early bird right now. Still, we are officially launching more on also going to move this. We're officially launching on November 2nd. And with this early bird, the reason to get in during the early bird is really that we have a couple things going that are actually like pretty huge bonuses. So the first one is that the early bird offer is you will get the Direct Sales Accelerator basically at no additional charge when you join the Kickstarter Accelerator before November 1st. And with the Direct Sales Accelerator, not only is it a great program on its own, and direct sales is a very hot topic in the author industry, but it is also, you also get a bunch of extra courses with it. And so we talked about those. They're here if you want to go look at this. This is at kickstartyournovel.com/buy, but it's right here. It gives you a list of all the extra courses, and I believe that this was valued at over $3,000. And this isn't just like us, you know, BSing you with some marketing stuff or like putting some random number on that. We literally have charged people $3,000 for these courses when you add them all up together. We didn't have them in the package like this. And so the price for the Kickstarter Accelerator in Early Bird is $9.99. And you will get all of this extra stuff for free. We also had a couple other, do we have other bonuses? I feel like there was another huge bonus, but maybe, I don't know where that is. Okay, so we'll talk about this. The second early bird offer is the Go Wide, Grow Wide Incubator, and that one for $500 more. This is only until November, like through November 1st. Everything transitions over on November 2nd, so you may be able to sneak in November 2nd in the morning, but it's going to be transitioning over. But only until November 1st, guaranteed, you can get the Go Wide, Grow Wide Incubator for an entire year for only $500 more. And when you do this, it's really like 12 mini courses throughout the year, one per month. But it's each mini course, you know, has 5 videos. So the first one had 8 videos, and it was about direct sales special offers. The second one was about Barnes Noble. It had 5 videos. And so what it is, it basically just goes through and helps you either start or optimize at all the different retailers. So we cover Barnes & Noble, Amazon, Google Play, Apple Books, and Kobo. Those are 5 of the months. We also have 3 advertising months, one of which is coming up next, which is the BookBub ads one. And so there's BookBub ads, Facebook ads, and Amazon ads. And so again, these are mini courses, but they're actually pretty substantial courses. They're, you know, these are like our courses are huge. Like the Kickstarter Accelerator is a huge course. It's like 30 to 40 hours. So for us, this is a mini course to have like 5 hours or 10 hours. But I would say that's probably what like an average like other course is. So you're actually getting like pretty much close to a full course for, you know, every single month. So you know, we have 5 about the retailers, we have 3 about the ad platforms, and then we have 1 about print books, 1 about audiobooks, and then 2 about direct sales. So the 2 about direct sales, 1 is about special offers, and again, we passed that, but you will get access to it because of you're getting a full year's access, so you will get access to the next round of it, but you will get the access now. And then the other one is direct sales on your website, and so this is like a Shopify store or a WooCommerce store or Thrivecart setup or whatever. So that is happening in January. So again, 12 mini courses that are really like almost like full length courses. By other standards, mini courses for us. And that is very cool too. And so the other thing I want to point out about this is that in Early Bird, we also have the 12 monthly pay option. So if you're doing the Kickstarter Accelerator and the Direct Sales Accelerator, it's 12 monthly payments of $99 each. And you get access to everything right away, everything we have for this right away. And then if you do the VIP upgrade, it's $149 each. So for $50 more per month. But you know, initially the payment of $50 more is real. It's really only $50 more in the payment. And that is for the upgrade, and you get basically all three of our programs. The incubator for it's a membership program, but you get an entire year of membership, which covers all the content. So it's a really, really great deal. And I think if you're going to get this, if you know you're going to do this anyway, like, why not do it in early bird? It kind of makes no sense to not at least get started with it, especially if you want to use the payment plan.
Absolutely. And we have a question that was, is this the first time you're offering the direct says direct incubator? That's two different things. The answer to that is we did offer the incubator in like July and August when we launched the Kickstarter, the Go Wide Grow Wide Kickstarter campaign. And then we offered the direct sales accelerator in August as well. The last time that we did our little mini launch for the Kickstarter accelerator back then. So you may have gotten it in one of those two launches.
Like 99% sure that Macro definitely got it. I saw that you had gotten the direct sales accelerator, so I'm 99% sure that you have it. But definitely reach out to support@writermba.com if you don't have access to it.
Yes, absolutely.
Our support team can help you get access to it and make sure that you're in our circle community and everything else. So, but it's good to see you. I'm curious if you're going to 20 books.
Yes. And on that note, we are going to be next week at RAM. We are platinum sponsors of the event.
Romance Author Mastermind.
That's Romance Author Mastermind. I figured if you're going to RAM, you would already know what RAM was.
Very true.
So Romance Author Mastermind is next week, and we'll be down there. If you are down there too, make sure to say hello to us. We'll also be at 20 books, and we'll have a lot of cool stuff to do at 20 books. We have a lot of like events in the evening and meetups and stuff there. So it's going to be a big month for us next month. And we're very excited and very nervous about like how it's going to go. So please come and hang out with us if you see us down there. That said, are you ready to get to a second sort of like mini episode? Although 30 minutes is supposed to be our whole episode, but they always end up being mini episodes. We always go like 45 minutes or an hour. So
yeah.
So, all right. So we were going to talk sort of about like this new campaign that I'm running, and I'll let you take it away and ask me the questions that we talked about earlier.
Yes.
I forget.
Yes. So this episode is really going to be diving into Russell's process of setting his schedule for the year, of creating projects that are varied and different, of figuring out what they're going to fund at months before he launches, I'm pretty sure, and getting within sometimes within like $500, sometimes within $1,000 of the actual amount that he funds at, which is incredible to me. And then specifically right now you have a Kickstarter campaign called Anna and the Dark Place. And it is a solo standalone, and people who don't understand Kickstarter may be like, look, you had a $12,000 campaign, a $40,000 campaign, another $40,000. Oh no, before that you had the $15,000 campaign, another $40,000 campaign, a $20,000 campaign, and now you have a $4,000 campaign, $4,500 campaign. What's going on, Russell? But you know what's going on, and you can explain what's happening here.
Yeah. Okay. So I plan my years like I'm a fashion designer. I learned that from a master class from, I don't know, one of the fashion designers who do master class, and they were like, we set ourselves up so that every once a quarter we have a launch, and then that allows us to build to that launch, crescendo at that launch, and then come down from that launch and go back into a sort of like creating time. So I took that to be kind of, I'm going to do 4 launches a year. I have too many books to only do 4 launches a year. So I do so this is like my secret 5th launch of the year that I do with almost no plan of like how much it's going to raise. Now I do put like a budgetary limit on what I think we're going to raise, so that I know like what to spend on the campaign, but like I'm not trying. I don't plan to blow the lid off because I'm not. I only have about a week or two usually to like to talk about this one. It's usually only live for like less than 2 weeks, and but what's nice about this particular campaign is like it's usually very low stress because like I've already made my money for the year, and this is all kind of like bonus money. And so how I think about campaigns is what can I do every quarter? And my philosophy generally is I prefer not to launch a series more than once a year, and I prefer to launch in one format only twice a year. So I have 2 books that are novels that came out this year, and 2 books that were comics that came out this year. And this was January, so Q1. March is technically also Q1. For some reason, my brain always thinks that it's Q2. I don't know why. So this was my kind of Q2 launch. And then June is technically also in Q2, but like this was my Q3 launch, and then like basically like my Q4 launch. I know these are not.
I think.
Yes,
yeah, it's not like technically Q.
Yes, these are none of these are technically in the right quarter. But and then this is my technical, I guess, Q4 launch because it is actually in Q4. And the Q4 is quarters, by the way. I should say like quarter 1 would be January to March to April 1st, then April to July 1st, then July to October 1st, then October 1st to the end of the year. So that's when I say like quarters. And so the way I estimate so well is having done this so long. There's a reason we say do a $500 goal, and you can say, look, that's $500 right there. This is actually not the one I did. I don't know why I brought this up. God's verse. And you can see this is, I think $1,000. I forget what $1,000. So that's basically, there were 3 books in this one. So like a little bit less than $500 a book. This one is 4 books. So I did a $2,000 goal. So $2,000 goal because there's 4 books in this one. So that's kind of my math. I still think when you do your first campaigns, you should set it at $500. And why I tell you that is because if you want to get good at estimating what you're going to raise, you have to raise something first, so you're able to predict. Right. And when you do your first campaign, no matter if you've done 100 book launches or not on other platforms, the one thing that I know for sure is when you start a new platform, you have no idea how it's going to go. Nobody does at all. So like start low, and then so the reason I know kind of how much I'm going to raise on a novel series is because like I launched a novel series and it hit 10 grand, and launched another one and it hit 10 grand, and then I hit a third one and it hit 10 grand. I was like, okay, probably I'm going to be raising about 10 grand. So that's what I write in. With comics, I generally will raise for a series like 20 grand for a comic book series like Ichabod. Mm-hmm. So after doing that again for enough times, I was like, okay, I'm probably going to hit 20 grand. So I can write that number in. And then the same thing with the anthologies. I roughly hit about 30 grand every time I launch an anthology. This one was hard because I probably wouldn't have set it at 30 grand, but like we literally needed 30 grand just to make this thing get over the door. So like that one was easy. I was like, well, it's going to take 30 grand. So I guess my number's 30 grand. And this was the hardest one I've ever done because it was the highest. It was the highest goal I've ever had. And thus the most stress I've ever had. I mean, I like this quote, this comment by James, who says $250 and $500 campaigns are training wheels. And absolutely, I think that. And also because you don't get to keep the money if you don't make the goal. And we saw a couple of people that have been inching towards their goal for a long time when they launched this month. And I was like, oof, that's weeks. Like they were over 500 in like 2 days. And then they were like slowly creeping up to 1,000. They've all gotten there. but like it must have been much more stressful than they needed it to be to get to that $1,000.
Right.
You know, and so there's two things. Either you have to go and say, I need $14,000. So like, I got to set this at $14,000. Or you have to like start doing it and making predictions of what the launch is going to be. Cause it's only through the data of what your launch has been that you can predict the next launch. Now before your launch, you can look at a whole bunch of other campaigns in your genre and kind of see like what you can kind of expect. But I would absolutely not take any of that number as gospel, which is why we told you in the first campaign that you do to be really, really careful about add-ons, about like extra things you have to make. That's why we almost always tell you to do an anniversary book. If you have books already, like do a book 3-year, 5-year, it doesn't matter, 4-year anniversary of like, do a special edition for like that group, because then you will at least see what you can do as a bottom line number. Because usually an anniversary book will be like the least you make. It's not always the case, obviously, especially for writing a bunch of genres like I do. But like generally, because your anniversary book, most of the people have that book, you're probably only going to go up from there. So like a complete series is another good one where you do like 3 books to complete a series or whatever you just do. And that's a good one. But again, probably doing a new book that's completely fresh is going to be a lot more money, as long as it's in a similar genre to what you write, but then it's going to be a whole lot more cost. So you want to set a baseline for yourself and then be able to grow from there. And I've been very lucky this year because I've always estimated low until this campaign, which looks like it may hit $5,000. We're within $500. I wrote in $5,000 on this one and we're less than $500 away. So like, I'm not going to be too upset if we don't hit $5,000, especially after we've hit over that so many times. But like, I do like to set my number of like a number that I know we're going to hit. Currently this year, I think we've done $20,000 over my predictions, which is like pretty great when you're on the right side of that. I've been on the wrong side of it too. I don't like being on the wrong. It's not as good being $20,000 off the other way.
Yeah. So one thing that you did though this year in particular is that if like when you set those goals and you say you've used historic data, so say if you don't have historic data, I actually think that's where you should join our program, because you can, like, Russell can kind of like look at campaigns too and be like, okay, like here, you know, like he's just done this so much that he has like a ton of historical data from backing over 600 projects. It's probably close to 700 projects now, from running nearly 30 campaigns, from participating in another probably 20 to 30 campaigns, like whether it's as an anthology contributor, where you're not actually even getting the credit for that, but like so many campaigns, so much knowledge of Kickstarter, so much data on Kickstarter, all in this head. Well, your head. So yeah, I think that can be really helpful. If you don't have that data, like learn from somebody who does have all that data. But then I would also say that you are really good at knowing when you're like, well, I need to hit 30K, and these are the factors that are coming up within the industry, on the platform, even just like with the series or whatever it is, and you're like, I need more time. So that like, I know one of your tricks for making sure you hit some of those goals, or giving yourself the best chance to hit some of those goals, it's just like making your campaign longer or starting it early. A lot of times, I know for 2 campaigns this year, you started them earlier than you had planned in order to make sure you hit the target goals. So are there any other things like that? And you can also talk about that specific example, but any other tricks like that?
Yeah, so one of the things that you'll see if you do a second campaign or a third campaign is your backer number will go down usually. If you're at the very beginning of your career, this probably won't happen. You'll probably keep going up. But if you have a stable amount of fans, you'll go down for each volume, but then the amount of money you make for each volume will stay roughly the same. So when you're thinking about, like, for instance, when we did the Cthulhu campaign, we had done a 24-day campaign last time and raised $31,000. So I was like, if we want to hit that same number, I'm going to need to have a longer length of a campaign in order to do that. And I'm going to have to do more stuff inside of that campaign. So that's the other half of that, where you say, okay, I have a big campaign I need to hit. So I need to be on X number of podcasts or X number of live streams, or I need to set up X number of of cross promotion. I need to do all of these things because that's a big hairy goal. That's a big goal. Like 30 grand's a lot of money to raise, like even for like someone who's a veteran on Kickstarter.
Oh, yeah.
So you have to be like, all right, now the reverse is like, I didn't want to do that for this campaign. So this campaign, Anna campaign, I was like, I can do it in 12 days. Actually extended it to 13 days. It was going to be 10 days. I was like, I'm just going to take the weekend and do that. But generally, you like, when I don't want to do, when I know the work, I'm not going to be doing the work of like doing all of the messaging. And I then will make the campaign shorter, because like my audience, after 10 days of doing this whole thing, is like, they're going to be in or out. Like, they're not going to need. The question is, how much outside force can I bring into the campaign? And the reason why the number goes down, but the backer number goes down, but the amount you raise stays the same, is those new people are buying every book in the series. So if someone comes in that's new, instead of spending $40, they're spending $160. So if you're
that was me.
Well, if your campaign's going down, yeah, exactly. So if your campaign's like backers numbers are going down and you the new people are coming in to spend more money, you then have to go and find more people. Like, you have to go out in every campaign. You need to be doing list building throughout your whole campaign. And like before your campaign, between the campaigns, the best thing you could do is build your list and like build your notoriety and do your marketing tasks between launches. But if you are, but if you know you're going to need more people, you then have to get on podcast. And if you know that it's been a while since you launched something, you also are going to have to attract new people back to the campaign.
Right.
And say, so they're going to have to hear you and be like, I remember Ichabod. Like, what was Ichabod? Like, I'm not ready to do yet. And then like, maybe you've gotten someone who backed volume 1 and hasn't backed for 3 volumes. Or maybe they backed volume 3 and they have the 3 and they just like, I don't know if I'm going to finish this series, or maybe I haven't, whatever the thing is. Because we ended on a cliffhanger, it's probably not going to happen for people that have 3 to not buy 4. But you also have to be like, I need at least 7 touch points with my audience before they're going to buy. So, we talk about this all the time, Monica, but like any single marketing activity you do is probably going to get a very minimal amount of people to buy. Right. The thing you have to think about is, what is the overarching campaign that I'm running for this series? Because what is very additive is, if someone has 4 touch points with you, they will convert less than if they have 8, and convert less than if they have 12. And at some point, most of the people are going to be like, have been saturated, and you have gotten all of the people. But like, that's probably north of 10, where you'll get the most touch points. 10 touch points. Mm-hmm. And by touch points, I mean an email or a social media post, or being on a podcast, or having an ad run. Just like, they have to see your thing 10 times before they make I read an article that was like close to 20 times now, but like, I'm just going to go with 10 because that's a lot.
Makes me want to cry.
So like, that's why you have to post daily, and you have to like do with a backer swap. Mm-hmm. So does any backer swap like net me $1,000? Like, no. But like, do I think that the additive amount of like doing 15 or 20 or 50 of them helps the overall, like, just in the campaign, when 50 trusted creators are willing to share their like in their update, do I think that over that course you just get more and more and more people? Yes, I do, because that's what we see. We see it here too.
Yeah.
Like we see it like the more touch points you can give somebody, which is one of the reasons why like you do advertising. Like that's why advertising exists in a large measure, because marketing can only hit so many people, but like doing billboards can hit a whole lot more people, and doing Facebook ads can hit a whole lot more people that like you just can't hit. And like I talked to a Mercedes dealer a long time ago when I was selling advertising for car dealerships, and they were like, we need 30 years to get somebody to buy a Mercedes. And so like I'm not thinking of any individual touch point. I'm saying, what is the overall campaign that I need to run to get somebody? And that means magazine ads and all of this stuff. And like, I can't judge the ROI on any one piece. And back then I told them that they were crazy.
That
now,
is insane. I mean, yeah, go ahead.
I believe that now. I believe.
Oh yeah, no, I
that,
believe
like,
it. I just think like that's a really rough game to play.
That's
like,
a hugely rough game to play.
I need 30 years to find like no indie author. Like if you need more than like a month to sell anything that you're selling, then you can't sell it.
Yeah.
Like you don't have the resources to sell it, most likely.
But I've heard tales of people and had people on my list for a year, and then they bought $500 of stuff and never bought before. So like,
I'm that person too. Like I'm that kind of buyer where I'm just like, yeah, I've been following you for 2 years, and all of a sudden, like I'm all in on your like highest package, and you're like, where did you come from? You've like been lurking for 2 years.
Absolutely. And like that happens with like basically anything that you're doing. You know, when we launched the accelerator, it was like a lot of those first sales for people who've been following us for like 5 years, and they finally were like, yes, like this is the one that I'm going to buy and I'm going to invest in. And like all of that stuff that you goes into like how long the campaign is and how much I think they're going to make. I'm going to make on that campaign because yeah, like I might look at and it's really important to do this. Like you probably can't do like not on a project you started. Don't do this on a project you've already started, but like on projects that are coming in the pipe, you can say, oh, it's going to cost $20,000 to get this 120-ish book page comic across the finish line. Right. Well, I don't have any audience. I probably need to break this up into issues, or like, you know, I don't want to raise $10,000. I don't think I can raise $10,000. I don't think people are going to spend $100. So I need to do four campaigns for my book series instead of one 4-book campaign. But when I started doing that, I was like pretty well established. I ran those books on Amazon and like they failed. And I was like, well, that's weird. Nothing else I've ever done has ever failed. So like as far as like launching books on Kickstarter goes, like I've done plenty of failure in my life, but like not in this realm. I was like, this is so frigging weird. Like what is going on? So I had some idea that like I was going to bring them to Kickstarter and like just break even. And like I needed basically $8,000 to break even. And so I was like, all right, I better hit $10,000 because otherwise I'm never going to break even on these things. So that was another way that I predicted at the beginning. Because like, I need to not lose my shirt. I need to make X amount of dollars on here. And like, so like when you're doing your predictions of the next thing, like maybe don't do the audiobook that's $6,000, like, and then launch it on Kickstarter first. Maybe like wait until you're profitable by $20,000 and then invest $6,000 into your audiobook, which is something I learned on this campaign. We tried to do an audiobook and we were like, well, like, like we barely broke even on all of this stuff. Whereas like the audiobook cost us thousands of dollars. And of the people that chose the audiobook option, it was like $300 worth of people. We're like, I can't, that's like not that's not good math.
Right.
But I wanted to test it because we've tried audio in the past and like it's done well. Like we've done audio drama.
The audio drama was last year's November campaign.
Yeah, and the audio. I also like to use these campaigns to like test
Yeah.
weird things. Like I did like books that I drew one year, and then I did an
know. I
audio
love that
drama the
book.
year after. And this year we tried an audio book. So it was like, so I was trying to make the case to be like, well, if the same number, if enough people come to the audio book to justify the cost of it, that's like almost a $10,000 campaign that I'll run. And like, that makes it absolutely worth it to like do audiobooks. And like, I was ready to invest like 50 grand into doing audiobooks. And after doing this campaign, I'm like, I'm not investing another dollar into audiobooks until like I figure some other stuff out, because there's something in the audiobook market that just does not translate to Kickstarter or Book Funnel or whatever. And that's another reason why we always wrap your audiobook campaign in a special edition hardcover, because the special edition hardcover made enough money to make the entire campaign worth it and pay out not just the special edition hardcover, but all of the rest of it.
Yeah, and we've seen authors have success with that. Yeah, I think authors, Kickstarter is not like this magic beanstalk, is what I think I would say is like a lot of the same challenges, especially like audiobooks is the one that we get so many questions about. Like everybody wants to fund their audiobook on Kickstarter, and it's like, let's remember that audiobooks, it's still only like less than 5% of the book market. And so like lots of people do, like there is demand for audiobooks, and people don't want to pay a lot of money for audiobooks too. Like readers, they want it to be, because it's still a digital product, like they want it to be fairly affordable, or like they want to use a membership credit on it, or like, so it's like the business model for audiobooks in like English language countries at least, and really like as I've looked into it globally, the business model is not really that strong for most authors to produce audiobooks, because it just costs so much and you can sell so few basically. So I think like all of that math like still bleeds over into Kickstarter right now, which is not to say it's impossible. It's just to say that you may need to build your audience more, or you may need to build your audience more for that series, or you may need to consider like AI audiobooks, or something that's going to make the production match the revenue that can be brought in.
And that's what we're doing next year. We're doing a campaign for like we're doing AI audiobooks right now for all of our Godsverse Chronicles books.
I was gonna say it's gonna be Godsverse.
Yeah, the Godsverse Chronicles books, and we're adding. So we're doing special edition, like our retail edition covers, and then we're doing AI audiobooks for each tier, and like I'm paying someone to do the audiobooks, and like we're gonna put those two things together in a campaign next year, and see if that works. And if that works, then like at least that's something for the audiobook people. I want to bring on a new we got to bring on Sarah, but I want to just highlight this. Collect your own. You can use Kickstarter is absolutely transparent. You can search every campaign that's ever been on Kickstarter, successful, unsuccessful, or otherwise. See what works and what doesn't. Can't do that anywhere else. I don't know anywhere else you can do that on the internet. See every successful that have tens of thousands of launch pages. Like there's launch pages you could go, but you have to know every single person and where their launch page is, as opposed to like here. I guess other crowdfunding platforms do that as well. Although Indiegogo used to allow you to remove unsuccessful projects from their page. And then this one was just like use AI audiobooks to add them to tiers. We don't know how good AI audiobooks are going to convert people in there. So like I would not spend a whole lot of time, energy, and effort on the AI audiobooks, but like it is worth absolutely exploring and doing. Just know that when you launch, if you are selling your audiobooks on Google, on Kickstarter, you also have to have them live for the same price on Google, which is where everyone's using them.
So those were two comments from Jules Crusair for the podcast listeners. Yeah, I would also, I'm just going to add one more thing to this, and then we are going to bring on our next Kickstarter success stories. And our last, this is our, 11th one, because we had somebody who couldn't make it to this slot. But we will be bringing on Sarah Bigelow. But I did want to say, we tested this for nonfiction in our last major campaign, and we were like shocked. We offered a produced audiobook as a stretch goal, where like I was going to narrate it, so author narrated audiobook, and basically everybody voted to like not have that audiobook and instead get an AI audiobook, and they got some
and
other
extra
stuff
episodes.
instead. Yeah, they got extra podcast episodes. So I'm not saying that like that situation. I think like Russell and I were astounded that it wasn't at least 50-50, if not better than that.
Yeah. It was like 95% of people.
Yeah, like I think it was actually 100%. I don't think there was anyone who was a backer who was like, no, that's not going to be good. So it was, that convinced me, at least on the nonfiction side, to like never produce an audiobook again and to just do AI audiobooks, because I don't think the nonfiction reader cares. Like I just see, or at least not for us, but I would not be surprised if that was, more generalized to other people. But I was just, and I know for you, that's when you were like, I think I am going to do this Godverse campaign.
Yeah.
Like, I think I'm going to cancel like my $30,000 investment or whatever you were going to do for that. And I'm going to try AI audiobooks instead for this. And it just, it was like very, very eye-opening for us. I was absolutely shocked.
I was like,
but I'm glad we asked.
Most every time someone asks you, do you want the cheaper thing or the more expensive thing? They always are like, I want the more expensive thing. This is the first time I can even think that someone's like, no, give me the cheapo. Give me the cheaper option.
Yeah.
So like, yeah, absolutely. And basically how I'm going to be doing it is because a lot of people have the retail, the ebooks, I'm going to say you get the ebook, the audio commentary, and the audio book all together for $5 each. And so like now a lot of people didn't get the audio commentary last time. No one has gotten the audio book. So my assumption is that people will come back, even if they're just like, okay, like I'll buy the audio book for $5, even though I already have the novel. And if they don't have it, they just get like a really good deal on the retailer thing that didn't cost me that much. So they've already earned out on it. So
Yay.
That's our general idea. And now let's bring on Sarah.
Hello.
Hi, Sarah.
Hi, Sarah.
I apologize for the background noise. 3-year-old Monica, you understand, I am sure.
Yeah, I have one of those. When does he turn 4? No, I'm just kidding.
Mine not for another 6 months.
Yeah, I gotta say, when he turned 3, there was a marked change in personality, right on his birthday, where I'm like, where did you come from, child? But we love them. So anyway, hello, Sarah Bigelow. It's so good to be able to talk to you. So you've done a couple of campaigns now, and you're also in the Kickstarter Accelerator.
Yep.
And I know you have lots of great stuff to tell us. You've been across campaigns were in 2 different genres as well.
Yes.
So kind of goes along with some of, and actually I think everybody that we've talked to today has had 2 campaigns already. So it's funny because we started this live stream with an episode about sophomore slump and like what is different from first campaign to second campaign. So I guess we'd love to hear more about you. So tell us about yourself. We'll bring up one of your campaigns, and then we can talk about differences between the 2 campaigns.
Yeah,
if you'd like. So go ahead.
So I publish under my own name in urban fantasy, and then I also do cozy mystery under the pen name S.E. Bigelow. I know, super creative and clever. And I have been self-publishing since 2016. So I have like 5 or 6 complete series. Some of them are co-written with a fellow author of mine. And then some of them are solo. And I actually technically have run 3 campaigns. I did one back in 2018. for the first book in my Seasons of Magic series, which is kind of what I like to think of as like my main urban fantasy world. And then I joined the Accelerator, and I did the rest of the series in hardcover in May. And then I just literally like a week ago finished a special edition hardcover of my very first Cozy Mystery series.
Yay,
Can I
that's
tell you
awesome.
how cozy this mystery looks? Like I'm looking at these, looking at this imagery, and
so
it's like
nice.
it really does feel very cozy. Like I really, it's such a cozy thing. Like especially this cover, I was like, oh, it's a cozy cover.
Yeah, it's
Um,
really cute. Well, I like that it's also geeks focused. That's like really
Yeah.
fun. It's kind of like a different, a lot of the cozy mysteries that I see are like tea, coffee, cat, or bakery focused. So
Yeah.
to see like things outside of that is always really fun.
I'd like to give my cozy heroines weird jobs. So this character owns a comic book shop. I have another series where
Yay.
the main character is a former army chaplain.
Oh, that's
that's
fun.
cool.
Yeah.
And then
Cool.
I'm doing a paranormal cozy series where she's a witch and she works at a marijuana dispensary.
Ooh. Okay.
Awesome. I love it.
I love it
Okay.
too.
Okay, so let's talk. Let's talk specifics. Your first campaign raised, or your second
The
campaign.
second
Sorry,
campaign, yeah.
your second campaign raised over $6,000, and your
Yep.
next, your second one raised $2,600. And I know you talked pretty
Whoa.
openly
What was
about
the first one? Just
So the first one I raised about 2,000.
Okay.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
in terms of
go for it.
comparing it to that one, things are looking up.
Yeah. Well, you were pretty open in your struggles with this campaign in the group, at least. So I'd love for you to just talk kind of about the things that you saw in your second campaign that, even though it looks like you had like still a pretty good number of backers, you had almost 87% or so of people coming back, like you, or at least of the backers from your previous campaign. So can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, so I kind of, looked at my first campaign for this year going, oh, okay, I knew what I did for that one. And I felt way more prepared for the second one. I had all of my marketing written ahead of time. I had all of the stretch goal stuff covered ahead of time. And then it just didn't fund in the same way. And I think initially I was a little disappointed because I had, I did over $6,000 on this last one, and now I couldn't even get half of that on this other one. But in looking at, other cozy campaigns for the most part on the platform, it did do pretty well.
It did really well.
I think I had wanted to, I know I caught the tail end of your guys' discussion about audiobooks, and I was really hoping that I'd be able to raise enough on this campaign to cover audio for this series. And so when I kind of realized that wasn't going to happen, I was like a little disappointed.
Yeah.
But I've got plans.
Always launch another campaign. Like looking at the two campaigns, the first one was for like hardcovers, right? Or am I misremembering?
Nope, it was 4.
Okay.
Well, so technically it was funding for 3 of them, but you could get all 4 in the series.
Okay. So there was like the first campaign, if I recall, there was the fourth book new, or am I?
Nope.
Okay.
Nope.
So
They'd all been out for quite a while. Not quite as old as the Geek series, but since 2020. So
yeah. So I think it's interesting to compare these two things. So like the first one was fantasy, which is of course going to do very well. Like it's like fantasy is going to do better than contemporary or historical on Kickstarter. I should really say fantasy, sci-fi, horror. Paranormal does better, just because Kickstarter is just a platform that is basically like a con, but online. But then like hardcovers is always going to have a higher average per backer than something that's not a hardcover. and like I would say like courses, like on the nonfiction side, courses have probably like the highest one that I've seen. But I know for this campaign, you had hardcovers, and I think that was a big factor in the amount raised. Because I think I don't know if it was you, it might have been somebody else, but I think I remember average per backer was like $87 or something.
Yeah, this was
like
about
that.
60.
On your on the fantasy one. Okay, 60. So 87 must have been somebody else's campaign, but
I think that was Jenny's campaign.
I think you're right. It was Jenny's campaign because the two of you launched like close to the same time and had similar results. So yeah, and then with the Cozy Mystery, was it hardcovers? Was it paperbacks?
It was a hardcover omnibus. So it was all, since this series is novella length, they're short. It was all one volume.
Yeah, so it's like one hardcover compared to 4 hardcovers. So there were like the projects were just different, right? Like this is a different genre that's not as popular on the platform. Yep. 1 hardcover compared to 4 hardcovers, and like these are the thing we were because we were talking about it earlier. These are some of the factors that can really change that math, and I think like when I'm looking at that at the campaign from that perspective, it's like this campaign, the Cozy Mystery campaign, actually did better than the other one because of the hardcover. Because like you didn't have 4 hardcovers for this. But if you were to do maybe 4 Cozy Mystery hardcovers, I would think that campaign could potentially have raised more than the $6,000. So those are just things to think about as you're maybe doing your second campaign, or even as you're kind of looking in retrospect at this campaign to do like a breakdown of it. But like I actually think that probably this campaign was more successful when you start to put in those factors than the last one, if you're judging by like,
I mean, I also, so in the first campaign this year, like all of my very top tiers, which was essentially like the Seasons of Magic verse, because there's 4 books in that series, plus at the time there was 1 spin-off book, and then I had all of my fantasy stuff in another tier. All of those sold out. So I thought I was being super clever by pre-ordering, like getting the paperbacks for the cozy upper tiers ahead of time, because I wanted to be able to fulfill quickly because we're getting into holiday season.
Mm-hmm.
And I sold 1
of the upper tiers on the second, the third campaign. Yeah.
So I spent $363 and
to get the books ahead of time.
To get the books printed.
Yeah.
And
well,
and I also like ordered pins as well, because I saw how successful they are on a lot of other campaigns, and I think I sold like 5 of those. So
yeah, but those are assets you have now, right? Like, I mean, let's put that out there. Like, you can still sell them. You can still do a holiday like sale. Like you can.
I think gonna transition more to doing like art prints and stickers and things, just for ease of mailing stuff and not having it cost a ton of money.
Sure. I mean, it's nice also to do like I love pins, right? Like my problem with pins.
I gathered that.
Well, my problem with pins is the backing. The backing of pins makes it hard to put into a normal package, because like there's a little thing protruding on the bottom. So like next year I'm doing challenge coins instead. So like we have this like there's a thing in in the series that this is for called the not this one, but the one that we're doing called the God coin, and we're just reproducing that for like this thing. But I think stickers, we did a print this year, like no one seemed to like, they just wanted an extra thing. Like they didn't care that it was a pin as much as they cared that like it was a thing that they could get. And I was like, well, you're right. It's like so much easier to just do a virgin cover. Virgin cover meaning cover with no dress, like none of the titles or like, and like that was like I paid a little bit of money, I think, or like my cover designer gave me like the virgin cover, and I was like, here's your print. And people like went and bought that very easily, bought that print. And I was like, wow, you could just do that. You just do a print. You could do a sticker. You could do a prize pack that's just like, you can do there's these drop cards that you can send your digital rewards in also. Like that's a collector card. Like you can do all of these things that like don't require you to pay $200 for pins or more.
Sure. Yeah, but I also think, going back to some of the merchandise that you purchased ahead of time, I think that there's also value in like looking at your local markets. Like for example, here in St. Louis, there's like a farmer's market that goes every week. And so like it might be worth, trying to, I don't know how many copies you have, but it might be worth trying to connect locally and trying to sell those just to like recoup your money, and so I think the good thing about that situation where, maybe I don't know if you feel like it was a big mistake or like maybe you're not feeling great about that, but it's like hopefully, there are methods in which you can recoup that to where it's not, it's not gonna kind of be a sad thing for you maybe, or I think I'm getting the vibe that it's like a huge bummer. That maybe you're like, like
I was a little bummed out. I think in retrospect, at least one of the other series that was in the collection there has also been out for a couple of years, and my cozy like newsletter list is bigger than my urban fantasy, so like more people probably had already read them.
Okay, gotcha.
Yeah, and I'll give you another secret that you can do, which I did in a campaign. So last year I did a campaign, which was a pin that I made. Actually, a pin that like you probably saw at 20 books, which was if you've been at my head pin. And I was like, man, I would really love to like, recoup my money on this pin that I spent a lot of money on. And it just became my pin for a different campaign. So like, I just used that as like, oh, now I didn't put it on different, but you could use that on like another campaign.
Yeah, I mean, I do plan to use the leftover pins. Like I've already slotted them in. I have 3 campaigns planned for next year. Thank you for the both of you for giving me the Kickstarter bug.
You're
literally
welcome.
I'm like planning things in like 2028 and
yay.
Oh
that's even further out than Russell plans.
Actually, I lied. It's actually through 2033.
Oh my gosh.
That's great though. I love it.
Essentially every new series that I'm planning will be going on Kickstarter first.
Wow.
And then hitting retailers anywhere from 6 to probably 24 months, depending.
Yeah.
I honestly think that's a great plan because that gives you so much flexibility to be like, I have so many books that have gone on Kickstarter and I'm like, I could put them on retailers every month for like, I don't know, for 2 years. And like,
I'm still waiting for you to give me another opportunity to get the Obsidian Spindle Saga.
Hey, it's coming in January. And this the next campaign is in January. We're doing all 8 books. 8 books and the challenge coin. That's where the challenge coins come.
Oh, okay. I will be there.
Amazing.
They are. We actually have since we're there's book 5.
Oh, fun.
And book 6.
Nice.
They're really
book 7.
Okay, so you purposely made them like the black covers because they're white covers on the first 4 are the white covers, right?
So the books slowly get blacker and blacker and blacker as the series goes on, and the books get darker and darker and darker. So thematically, the covers, the covers like represent like kind of the darkness of the books. That's the kind of idea that I had for the whole all 12 books.
Awesome.
So there's going to be more.
There's 12 books total. I finished the whole series. So, and it's Kickstarter, and they are Kickstarter exclusive until it's done. So that's that was one of the ways I tried to get people excited. Like some people are going to get, people that got books 1 to 4 are literally going to like get books 3 years before people on retailers can.
Yeah.
So,
Yep.
so I love, long story short, like I love the strategy of having enough time and space, and like, and then you have like, oh, all these books are profitable already, so I can do a lot of things. You know, people are always saying I don't write fast enough to like take advantage of Amazon. I'm like, you don't have to if you're broke even on your books as you were writing them, and then did like a longer release like on Amazon after that.
Yep. One of the campaigns I'm launching is going to be the first 2 books in a 15-book series next June.
Awesome.
And then 3 through 5 the year after, 6 through 8, 9 through 11, and then 12 through 15.
Cool. I love it. And that's great. It does become harder and harder to pack those series over time, I can tell you. After.
Yeah, I have boxes that I think will suffice for only a very short period of time, because that was one of the things I got super excited about with the Seasons campaign, was I bought branded boxes with both of my logos on them.
And they look awesome.
They do.
So many pictures of them. So that's very, I'm sure it's like an extra dose of excitement when people receive the package in their mail, and they're very excited to open.
Well, Monica, while we're on that subject, I have another question for Sarah, but this brings up a topic we just talked about, which was like, you've been getting a lot of boxes, of cool boxes. Like, any tips of like what you've learned packing boxes, or not packing boxes, receiving a bunch of Kickstarter boxes now?
Yeah, I feel like that's a whole separate episode, because I unpacked I unpacked like a good 10 books or 10 packages, and yeah, I mean, I certainly don't want to call anyone out, because like, but I think the big thing, and I think that the reason you have these boxes, and it's so important, is that when people are spending a premium amount on anything, which is really any, like in the book world, a premium amount is anything over $10, I feel, because you can get an ebook for like, I mean, well, for free, but you know, the average ebook's probably like $5 or less. So Kickstarter, you're asking people to buy a premium thing, and I definitely think if it's premium, like, you know, packaging is nice, and also like having a great product is like more important than maybe the ebook, and so like, not talking editing or anything, but I've definitely seen a couple of the books that I've received, you know, the covers were like way off, or like you know, or like, I don't know, and I'm sure you didn't have that problem, Sarah, but I just since it came up, that was again, it needs to be a separate topic for us on our podcast.
Yeah,
but,
for sure. Well, back to Sarah's stuff. Like, you've done a campaign you're super proud of. You did a campaign that like you're less impressed with. Let's just say less impressed with. Like, what are you going to do your third? But you're still excited about Kickstarter. So like, what have you taken from these 2 campaigns into like, what are you going to bring to the third campaign to make it slamming?
So actually, I caught your interview a little while ago, and I'm going to butcher her name too. Dorina. She is actually doing a commissioned art print for the campaign I'm doing in March. It's actually for one of my co-authored books. It's going to be again, it's only 1 hardcover, but we are also offering a paperback version, and we're really excited to be able to use the prints in different iterations. Like, she's given us the background, so that's going to be a digital wallpaper that's available in all of the digital tiers. We're getting a bookmark that the design actually fits in with the art prints themselves, so it's one continuous design.
Oh, that's awesome.
We're taking that and maybe doing like chapter heading art and things like that to try to increase the value. Are you doing variant covers of other things? So my June campaign, not only are they deluxe editions, because I'm including like background info and like that chapter outlines and stuff, but I'm also doing variant covers for the paperbacks.
Oh, that's awesome. So they're going to have the chance to get like an A cover and a B cover?
No, so they're just it's gonna be a Kickstarter exclusive cover.
Oh, awesome.
Okay.
Awesome. Yeah.
So like people will obviously down the line be able to get those books in later campaigns, but like not that version on retailers. And they'll also get them for that campaign 6 to 12 months early.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm hoping all of that confluence of things plus another art print will get me to 10K. That would
So it sounds like your goal is to kind of upgrade the product itself.
Yeah.
Have you done anything with like campaign design that you want to talk about? Especially like we kind of talked about that a little bit on the like here as we were talking about like one hardcover versus the four and like genres and have you looked into some of that stuff?
Not recently, just because like this last campaign just ended.
Yeah.
But I am looking to do. I think I'm like lowering my expectations for cozy mysteries, and I think that will help feel like I'm having a more successful campaign. Like next year's cozy campaign is the first 6 books in the paranormal series.
Mm-hmm.
Cool. I think you're gonna like. I was like. I love paranormal cozies, so like I already will buy those ones. I don't even because I like your writing. You already got one right now because pretty much as long as there are like witches or some like thing that like is paranormal in like a book that like and like I love cozies because there's not like the stakes are low. So I'm pretty much always vacillate between like really high stakes, high fantasy books and like paranormal cozy mysteries. So like, and I think that
this one has a witch. It has a snarky ghost. It has a telepathic chameleon.
Well, that's all. That's all the things. Is she a baker or like a bookstore or like what's her job?
She works in a marijuana dispensary.
Oh yeah, that's right. That's the one you said. Yeah, I'm there. Like I'm already in for that one. And I think
with that one, what'll help is even though it's 2 hardcovers, it's 6 books, but books 5 and 6 won't be available on retailers until after the campaign.
Yeah, I love doing stuff.
Then the following year, I'll be doing 7, 8, and 9, and then the year after will be 10, 11, and 12.
Awesome. I love it.
So ultimately like 4 special edition volumes.
Yeah, that's great. It's super exciting because like I think my estimation is like that if you do like witchy ones, like it'll be even better. I know you're gonna lower your expectation and it's always a good idea, but like I think that you will probably see more success with the paranormal stuff because that's what we also see. It's what we also see with romance. It's like, hey, if you have like a sweet romance or a contemporary or just literally like a contemporary women's fiction book or like a contemporary just like those ones tend not to do as well as like if there's any paranormal element in it, like it can double or better your like your sweet one. So I'm super excited for that one too. It's almost like we say usually it's the opposite of Amazon, where like there's a finite audience for like paranormal stuff on Amazon. There's like an infinite interest in paranormal stuff on Kickstarter.
But I'm really excited to be able to start launching stuff exclusively there and then move it to retailers later on.
Yeah. So we haven't asked anyone else this, but this is the last one I'm going to ask you. Like, what is it that Kickstarter like gives you in your author career that you haven't gotten, or that like you haven't found other places? I don't know. That's not really
no, that was like actually my almost nearly exact question. That's awesome. So glad.
Admittedly, the ability to be in the black. I feel like I've one of those people who like made all the publishing mistakes over the years, and this is giving me a chance to actually end the year having made a profit and giving me the chance to in the future just be in a place where I can actually start to set money aside for like my kids' college and things like that I have always wanted to use my book money for because I still work full time, which is why I couldn't be here for 3:30. But I would love to be able to set money aside every month so that maybe in 13, 15 years time when my kid goes to school, will have actually been able to set aside some money to help finance his higher education. And I think Kickstarter will be able to help me with that.
Love that.
Awesome.
That's such a wonderful goal. And thank you for sharing it with us. Monica, we're a little bit over time. We should probably let Sarah go to deal with the 3-year-old that she has. And
Well,
get on
luckily,
with her
Grandma and
day.
Grandpa are here, so
Yeah.
Oh, that's wonderful. Well, we're still going to let you go anyway. And we'll say, so if you could tell everyone where we can find your books. If you have 2 different sites for each pen name,
I don't.
let us know that.
I have one site for everything because I'm lazy.
Same. And then give us your final tip and we'll say goodbye.
Okay. I guess so. My website is just Sarah, and that's SARAH -Biglow BIGLOW.com. It has links to all the retailers. I'm sort of trying to sell direct. It's a work in progress, which is also why I'm in the Direct Sales Accelerator. If you haven't tried the free challenge, I would definitely recommend it. And if you're interested in doing more with Kickstarter, definitely join the Accelerator. You will absolutely make your money back and more. And it's a really good community because I'm finding all these other wonderful people that I can use those connections that I'm forging to help make better campaigns.
Wow.
Awesome.
Well,
That's
thank you for
wonderful.
saying that.
Thank
And we
you
did
so
not pay
much.
her to say that. Just want to say, like, but I agree. The community is amazing. Like, I feel like all my people are like in the Kickstarter community that we have. Like, those are all my friends now.
Yep.
Yeah, for sure. Friends. Absolutely. Well, thank you so much, Sarah, for stopping by. Have a great rest of your day.
Yeah.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks so much. Bye.
Oh, that was nice. That was lovely.
That was like such a nice way to end these success stories.
It was. And, I really, I feel like we should have asked everyone else that, because that was my feeling, not the college fund, but like, wow, I can actually be in the black. Like, because like, there's no mechanism anywhere in publishing that talks about like, how to be profitable before you even launch your book, or like, and they definitely don't talk about how expensive it is to make a book that like will break through, which means like a top tier cover with great editing, with like, Monica, I just did. So I've paid for an editor. I've paid a proofreader, paid another proofreader to relaunch the Godsverse Chronicles for their retailer launch. And I'm paying a proofreader to do all of the audio, and we're still finding issues. And that's like $10,000 I spent on editing. And there's still, so like, all of that whole process is like not just time consuming, but it is expensive. And what Kickstarter has given me is the ability to know the amount of energy I should put into a launch for a book series, because that's the really thing. It's like, okay, I spent $1,000 or $500 or $2,000 on a book. Like, how many people are going to buy it? And like, by doing a Kickstarter, you see, oh, well, this one didn't do as well as I thought. Maybe I'm not going to put $10,000 of marketing behind it, or maybe I'm going to change the covers, or maybe I'm going to do X, Y, and Z. And then, or like, wow, this one hit 10 grand, like probably pretty exciting. Like, I did not think the Dragon Strife books were going to do anything. And like, then I launched them and I was like, wow, that is a lot of people who bought this series comparatively to everything else that I've done, like 125 more people. I was like, maybe I need to rethink my marketing for this trilogy.
Definitely.
And all of that stuff is available. We don't even talk about any of that stuff about the benefits of Kickstarter, but like, I remember going into the launch of the Godsverse Chronicles on Amazon and being like, I just spent $9,000. I'm going to throw it into a black hole. Like, I sure hope that I make that money back. And like, nope, I sure didn't make that money back until I relaunched it on Kickstarter. But then when I launched it on Kickstarter, I was like, oh, well, I can finance another book. Like, this money is enough to finance more books in the series and make it like continue on this story to make it longer. That brought in more money and more money and more money. And so, yeah, like all of that stuff is like, to me, the reason why Kickstarter is like far and away my favorite platform, including the fact that all of the people are like so supportive and lovely and nice and helpful.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I guess like mine would be the same. I think, seeing it through the nonfiction lens, it's actually even more powerful than it is for fiction. I think, uh, just because, because I know what a nonfiction book makes on retailers, and for like 99% of those books, the answer is, not a crazy ton, basically. Like, yes, it can make some money, but it's not a crazy amount. And I think for me, what I love about Kickstarter is really, yes, being in the black. I think that's important. Yes, like huge payouts, huge profits, and or sometimes even just like medium payouts, medium profits. But I think for me, it's like the celebration of the work is probably like my very number one thing that I like about Kickstarter. It's just that you get to like kind of throw a party for every series or every like major thing you did, and you get to create your own ball that you get to be the belle of for like a certain amount of time, and like everybody is there to like just talk about how like amazing you are, and you're also just talking about how amazing you are. But I don't know, there's something about that. I guess it's a very Enneagram 3 answer, actually, now as I'm speaking it out loud. But I think what it is for me is like it connects me back to the artist that I want to be, rather than, um, I think retailers connect me to the businesswoman that I want to be, and it's like a very more like sterile version of me, I would say, and like a very very like lackluster connection with my readers, whereas Kickstarter is like, I don't know, it just feels more um, familiar, and like, yeah, I just think it's like, I don't know, it's like very friendly and cozy for me.
Yeah, I'm with you. That's funny because I'm like Amazon connects me with the business person I don't want to be, and
That's fair.
Kickstarter
That's fair.
Kickstarter
Yeah.
connects with the business person I do want to be.
Yeah.
So like
Yeah.
it's like a
No,
different,
it's so
little bit
true.
different for me. So
Yeah. Yeah.
like, I mean, we talk a lot about Kickstarter. That's because we love Kickstarter. Like I have like built I would not exist today without Kickstarter, probably. Like I mean, you can listen to the story in
Yeah.
we
So
have
good.
on the about like what, how, why. Like I probably like there's about a 50-50 chance I would not be alive without Kickstarter right now, because I was in a really bad place after that launch of the Gods First Chronicles, like the worst place I'd been for years. And so like I'm very thankful for the Gods Verse Chronicles for like giving me a career and also showing me that like I do have fans that love me and care about me and like my work, and that like I'm not a huge failure. Uh, and so all of that stuff came way, way, way before this accelerator. Like it came before the book that we wrote. It came back like years ago when I was making money on the platform and like connecting with fans on the platform. And what is really what I think is great about the accelerator is that I and I believe Monica too have poured all of that love into like this like course. And I say that because like, does anyone really love Amazon? Like people respect Amazon's ability to make them money, but like, I don't know, like people generally talk about exploiting the Amazon algorithm and like, and Facebook and all of these things. Like I genuinely love Kickstarter. I am its biggest evangelist. I
This
uh
is true.
I talk about them like it talked about them for years, like I said before, even the book or anything
Yes.
else. And what we want to do is more than like have this course is our goal is to make Kickstarter a place that is the best hub for finding cool books for readers, and for authors to launch cool book projects. That might be nonfiction, fiction, kids books, like journals, like whatever the thing is. Like, we want Kickstarter to be the home for it. And frankly, like, there's only a 36% success rate on publishing campaigns right now, which is abysmal. Like, that's terrible. And a lot of it is because people in the publishing space don't know how to design pages that will sell on Kickstarter. They're great for the projects, are usually like slamming, but like the design of the page, the design of the rewards, the design of all of the stuff that goes into a campaign is not good. And, you know, even when you're studying these pages, a lot of the ones that are successful are like successful despite their Kickstarter page, not because of the Kickstarter page. And so the goal of this course is to show you how to take the best practices that we have learned over the course of the campaign, of all of our campaigns and all of our looking at campaigns, and distill it into one place where like you can come and say, these are the best practices for making money, not only from somebody who made a lot of money on Kickstarter, but two people who made a lot of money on Kickstarter, but also obsessively look at all of this stuff and to look for trends and all of that other thing. Like, we are obsessive about doing it for fun. Like, we do it for fun.
It is. It's so true. I mean, we'll be at RAM, we'll be at 20 books. We're going to hang out, but like, we're probably going to like chat about Kickstarter for fun, which we already do all the time.
Yeah.
So it's, yeah, like we're really into this. And I think it's a very interesting topic, but I think without Russell, like, I don't know, I'd probably just write more books about it, because like that's what I do when nobody is interested in talking to me about the weird thing that I'm like into. But luckily Russell is super into Kickstarter too. So
I'm super, and I feel like we wrote a whole book that like probably needs to be updated, but there's not a lot more to say about Kickstarter, just like a slightly updated version. So like, you've heard,
I think we could double this book. I really
Yeah.
do. With how much we like well, let's not challenge ourselves, but like,
Well,
maybe
we're
there's advanced volume 2 or something.
well, because we're
this
kind
looks
of
too
doing
big.
that in January with like the
Yeah.
direct sales campaign is kind of like is doubling the size of the Kickstarter book, because
Right,
like it's
it
a lot
is.
of the Kickstarter stuff like built out for other places.
It's
And
so
like,
true.
so over the past week, you've heard 12 people from our programs who have been successful doing in all sorts of different ways, from all sorts of walks of life, people that are just starting, people that have been struggling for years, people have been successful, people in different people that are in different like different formats, fiction, nonfiction, all sorts of things that they're doing. And yeah, you've seen them all be able to take what they know and have success on Kickstarter with the help of our program. And so, Monica, do you want to talk a little bit about the people that this is for as I scroll through, and you can read some of the, you can look at some of the success stories that we've had?
Yeah, I mean, I think that, so definitely it is for newer authors. So sometimes people ask us, you know, can I do a Kickstarter campaign if I only have one book out or whatever? Like, we definitely take a look back at Amy Campbell's interview, because she only has 2 books out and then a third one on the way, or maybe it's 3 and a fourth one on the way. But she was kind of, I don't want to say she was starting out, because I don't think she's starting out, but she doesn't have a huge backlist, and she still hit 4,500 on her campaign. So I do think definitely new authors, the math for new authors, it's like, it makes so much sense to use Kickstarter, because if you launch on a retailer, realistically, you're, I mean, unless you're a successful author and launching a new pen name or something, like, realistically, you're going to make probably less than $1,000 on your first book launch, and probably like 99% of people are going to make less than a few hundred is probably my guess. Just because of the math on those retailers. It's a hard game. Like you've got to, when you launch at a retailer, it's all about the number of people that you can get to buy the book right away. So, and I want to say there are outliers. There are some people who have done way better than that, and maybe you will be one of them. But statistically, most people make less than 1,000 on their first launch. And so, like on Kickstarter, we can't guarantee that you would make more than 1,000, but we can say that probably like 90 to 95% of our students have made they hit more than $1,000 on their first Kickstarter campaign. So that's a huge one. And then if you're a successful author on retailers, then it makes sense to at least bring your backlist to Kickstarter, because you just, I don't know. I think just the math again just makes sense. Like if you can get even a small portion of your audience to convert to Kickstarter, then it's a huge payout for you, basically. So we have people from, I've never published a book before, or I haven't even published my first novel. We have people who are at that stage all the way up to like 7-figure authors in our program. I think we have a number of hybrid authors as well. So people who are in the traditionally published space that maybe have some crossover into indie publishing. So we have a bunch of just a really diverse community in terms of level of experience. We also, I think the other thing is, if you're doing nonfiction, you should be working with us. Like, I'll just say that straight up. And that I would say if you're wide, I think you should also be working with us. Because if you're wide, then Kickstarter is part of a larger mindset and a larger ecosystem. And we talk to people, like there are some people in the wide space who say, oh yeah, Kickstarter maybe not for you should decide. And I mean, of course that's true, like it may not be for everyone, but we think that it's a huge part of the ecosystem that is going to become prominent in publishing in like 2024, 2025, like so 2 or 3 years down the line. The system that we envision, or that we see, basically we see it coming down the pipeline, and so we're kind of preparing for it now and teaching people now, it involves Kickstarter, I would say.
Yeah. And if you don't, so I want to bring this up because I saw this this comment here, which is like, how is there only a 36% success rate? So this is from Kickstarter's website. You can see it right here. This is the website, kickstarter.com/help/stats. This page is automatically updated at least once a day with the raw data behind Kickstarter. You can see all of the dollars that they raised, and you can see right here, that's publishing, 36% success rate, which is not great. That means you of every 3 people that are on Kickstarter, roughly 2 of 3 will fail. And most of it is because of their poorly designed page. That is what we're trying to prevent through this course and through the book and through basically all of the talks that we do. Just how can you get a better designed page than the average? Now, the good news is, like, it doesn't take much to beat this average. Like, all said and done, like if you follow the page design that we set out in the course, if you have even a very small audience, even if you have like a few people that follow you on social media, like that really care about you, like you can beat this average. But you have to do certain things. There's a list of 10, 20 things that you just have to do, and you have to put them in the right order. I talk to people all of the time in our community that I'm like, all of this information is good, but it is in way not the right order. Like you went way too deep, way too fast, or like you didn't go deep enough, or like you overdid this part and not this part. And like these are people who've watched all of the videos, and I'm still going through each of them and like seeing these issues. So you really, 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 I can't overstress enough like how easy it is to go wrong on your Kickstarter page. And so we price this at $1,000 because we think that like almost anyone who takes this course will be able to make $1,000 on their first campaign and repay this when one campaign launch. In fact, if you take the 12 pay option, which is only offered once before, you can make up that you could pay $99, probably need to wait until January. So probably another $99, so $200, run a campaign in January and pay off the balance before all of the money is due to your account. That is not how I work, but it is very much how Monica works. So like by like doing the payment plans. So like no matter which you are, we want you to have the ability to like get in and start seeing success and start having market success with your career. And so like there are so many options for you. And right now, today, you get the Direct Sales Accelerator for free, which I'm gonna pull this down, but I'm gonna pull that back. I'm gonna pull up all of the cool courses that you get included with it in the back end of our Teachable store, while Monica tells you a little bit about the Direct Sales Accelerator.
Well, so the thing to me about the Direct Sales Accelerator is that direct sales is coming to independent publishing in a big way. So even if you think you're not interested in direct sales, you should be interested in direct sales because it's coming. Like we know, I mean, you don't have to believe us, I guess that's fair, but like we know it's coming, and like lots of other people who are really smart in this industry know that it's coming. And so we see retailers and so some people don't even realize like how big it's coming, but we see retailers as and like we have a lot of business experience. I also have an MBA in business, but like so like we can see these patterns coming, and retailers at the end of the day, they are middlemen, which is fine, great. We like middlemen are great for getting your product to a much larger audience. They're great at helping you find casual buyers, casual readers, even casual fans, if you want to call them fans. And then selling direct is where you can keep a lot more of the profit. It's where you can develop deeper fandoms. And so like you want both. But I will say that, retailers, we expect it to be, I mean, for some authors already who are deep into direct sales, it's like less than 50% of their revenue for month to month. So we expect that direct sales is actually going to be bigger than retailer sales for like I would say like most authors at some point. And Kickstarter demonstrates why that is on a pretty deep level already, where if you launch a book on a retailer, the most popular format is going to be ebook, and you can make like $3 to $7 in royalties. If you launch a book on Kickstarter, the most popular format is going to be print, and then you can get like all these bundles, and the average per reader that we see is between $25 and $50, and sometimes all the way up to over $100. So like the math of that is just, it just points to direct sales in so many different ways. So we just encourage you, the Direct Sales Accelerator, if you want to get into direct sales before direct sales gets huge, this is a great opportunity to do that.
Yeah, and so I want to take you through the actual like content really quickly that we already have set up. Even though it's not coming for like many months, the official course is not going to come for like, we're doing all of these sales calls, these Q&A calls every month, which is why it's included and why we're selling it at like the price that we're selling it at. But like you get my Create Profitable Facebook Ads course, how to build an audience from scratch, how to run a 5,000 person viral builder, how to run a Kickstarter anthology, all of these together, write a great novel, lessons, productivity, mindset, fandom, book launch, copywriting, list building. All of these are like the base skill sets that you need to succeed as an author anyway. How to run ads, how to build a list, like how to write good copy. And like all of them are included right now for that same $999 price. On November 2nd, you will not be able to get that at this price. It will only be included in the VIP course, but you get it now for free when you sign up for the Kickstarter Accelerator. On top of that, you get access to both of the calls that we ran. And this is not do justice to the fact that each of these were 2 hours long and like just went so deep on everything about direct sales. Like we talked on the first one, just like generally why direct sales are important. We pulled up some pages. We've talked about offers. The last one, we pulled up like some sales pages and looked at like what was right and what was wrong. Next time in our November call, we're going to talk about messaging. And here's the thing is these calls are sort of the exploratory calls as we're building out the course. And so we're not going to be doing live calls forever. We're doing it now. And again, you're getting these live calls for free. And you can bring any of your direct sales questions to them. Additionally, I've been building out tech walkthroughs of just about all of the programs that we use, from Thrivecart to Teachable and Squarespace, Themify, things to build sales pages, things to do checkout pages, things to build offers. You also get access to Monica's awesome Grow Wide Incubator for the special offers that she did in September. And then some more tech walkthroughs where I walk you through retargeting and abandoned cart sequences and all these other kind of things that you can use in your author career. And let me tell you, if the Kickstarter publishing platform has a 36% success rate, the success rate of a sales page is like 1%, probably way less than 1%, because Kickstarter gives you like the functional things you need. It gives like it's all laid out for sales and it has an algorithm. So like you can kind of just like you can even like fail your way to success on Kickstarter, like as long as you like have some certain functionality, right? You can make a few $100s and like have a campaign that is technically successful, even if it's not optimized to bring you the most money. Which is really additionally like what we have, like even if you can make money on Kickstarter, the way that we do it optimizes the amount of money you will make. So a $500 campaign might become a $5,000 campaign. I know that because we've seen it before.
Yeah, we have.
So all of that stuff is really important. But it's even more important to have a guidance when creating your sales pages, because they are a blank slate. Like you don't have anyone, you don't have any, like you have some framework, I guess.
No boundaries.
Like there's no boundaries of what you can do. And like, I'll tell you, the people that we've been looking at their sales pages for are making tens of thousands of dollars of mistakes. Like, and they're very small mistakes. They're very small mistakes, but they're the mistakes that like, if you're running ads could go from making $5,000 to like losing $5,000.
Sure.
Just these little, like this button needs to be here instead of here. Like this thing needs to be here instead of here. This change needs to be like, they're very minor. You will think, wow, those are minor changes, but like it is literally the difference between having a successful, like making money and losing money. And so like, that is the kind of stuff we do in the accelerator. And again, it comes free. It's free. If you buy the Kickstarter Accelerator.
I would say also that we're kind of at the starting point in the direct sales accelerator, in that everybody in the author space is still learning direct sales. So you don't have to be at the point where you're doing ads in order to join it or be part of it. We actually started with the special offers kind of on purpose, because a special offer could be like you have a box of paperbacks and you want to sell it to your newsletter. So we're actually starting quite small for a lot of authors, small and manageable. So definitely join it for that. And then of course, if you are advanced, like everything is customized, and like we are going advanced already, and we're going to keep going advanced. But you can get started with a fairly small project that is much more doable than you think, that is actually easier than a Kickstarter campaign, even because you only have one offer instead of on a Kickstarter campaign, every reward tier is essentially an offer. So you can get started with that, even as, a newer author, or, you're getting your feet wet with it, whatever. We're actually, we're at the starting point now, and we're teaching people how to do it kind of from the ground up. And so, some of the progressions that we're seeing in the program. So like one of the people that we talked to on the call, they had said that they put up their page, and then they send it to their email list, and then they made like an extra amount of money, like not a small amount of money. I won't say, because I don't want to like.
They said they made more than they did on Amazon.
Right. Yeah, and I don't want to say how much it is, because I don't want to just like I want to keep their stuff private for them. But yeah, they had made more through basically just setting up a sales page and sending it to their own email list, like not even to new people. Yes. In a few days, they made more money through that offer than they did on Amazon that month. And so, like people are making quite a bit of money, even with not having it as optimized as we want to eventually get people to, as Russell was saying, to where it could be more optimized for like cold traffic or advertising, and really scaling it up. But like even, what I would consider, I would say like an imperfect page or an imperfect offer can still do really well with your audience. And you could still be making money. And the other thing about direct sales is that money, it goes directly into your account within a couple days versus 2 months. So you can have, the amount that you made 2 days later instead of the 2 months later that you would have at retailers. And so it's extremely powerful for authors. And like, to me, this is like our greater mission, which is that, especially for like people who maybe now are living like paycheck to paycheck, or, you have like a situation where like your car breaks down and you're like, I need to raise like $3,000, or whatever it is. And we call this this term that we hate, which is money on demand. But it's just this idea, like if you had that issue, you cannot take your book to retailers, or you cannot do anything on retailers that is going to change your situation. Where if you have a direct sales system, then you could say, you know what, I need $3,000 to fix my car. I am going to do a direct sales offer. Like today, I'm going to set it up, get it out to my email list today, and try to make that $3,000 in the next couple days. It's going to be in my account. I could pay, I could pay off this thing. And that is just an incredible amount of power that authors do not have in their personal lives right now, using solely retailers. So that's why we think direct sales and Kickstarter and all of this stuff is incredibly powerful.
Absolutely. So we've now talked about this now. We're
a little over.
So
yeah.
Just go to kickstarternovel.com /buy and check out the course. Also check out the Kickstarter Book Sales podcast and our live stream, which you can get to on YouTube. If you are on YouTube right now listening to us, make sure to smash that subscribe button.
Oh, no.
And because we come live we come live once a week, or theoretically once a week.
Yeah,
pretty much we've been very good about this.
We've been pretty good about it.
Yeah, we're not so great about like always having the same day that our Q&A calls are on, but we've been very good at coming Fridays here, and then Mondays our podcast drops in your favorite retailer, and wherever your favorite place to listen it to. You probably can get it there. And we will hopefully see you at RAM at 20 books. And we have we have some webinars coming up. So head on over to at least, and our challenge is going live right now. We have this first 2 days in the group right now. We've done set up your title and sales page and subtitle. And I think imagery was today. So you can go in there at kickstartyournovel.com/challenge, sign up for that. We'll let you into the Facebook group. And Ms. is great.
Miss Swift. Ha! The subscribe button has already been smashed.
Nice.
Awesome. Thank
you. And on that note, I think we'll just say thank you very much, and we'll talk to you soon.
Bye.